Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I hope you're all happy and healthy. Look who I brought back. Brought it back. It's Lubo. After last night's ding-dong, this is just a way of showing that we're all mates. It's all theatre. It's all drama. But you know what? We didn't really get a proper chance because, for the previous hour and 45 minutes, it was largely taken up on other debates about Tottenham's youth and stuff. But then we still found 40 minutes to go at the end. But we might go there tonight. But before we do any of that, we've also got to talk about the fact that according to Football London, the chief editor, Tottenham have the funds. According to their sources, Tottenham have the funds, quote unquote, to complete their transfer plans. What does that look like? Well, according to people that work for Football London, like Ali Gold, Tottenham are still looking for a centre-back. When we had one, we've still got one. He's probably going to be an absolute world star player, but he might be going out on loan. The whole thing's a little bit bonkers to me, given how little time we have, the priority order, and the fact that other players are falling around us. Evan Gassand tonight looking like he's close to completing a deal for Aston Villa. I'm really excited to see that player. I just wish he was doing it in a Tottenham shirt. Before I come to Lubo and find out how he is, before I come across to the chat, find out how you are, little bit of admin, guys. Please do smash the like button on your way in. Take your shoes off and make yourself a cup of tea or have a beer, whatever you're doing. It's Tuesday night after all, at least in the UK. But smash the subscribe if you enjoy the content, just so you can, it's free to do, just so that you can know when we're going live and stuff. Hit the notification bell and drop the comments. Drum the thumb, rub the sub, yell at the bell. Lubo, how are you, mate? Are you good?
All good. Always good. Above ground. So always good.
Did you enjoy our little ding-dong last night?
I should say. So, yeah. Where are we now? 8 days to Italy. Booked a car parking space next to the ground tonight.
Have you?
That's done. Yeah, that's done. You need one of these. You need one of those to park next to the stadium if you're driving. There's no public transport for 4 kilometres around the grounds from the city centre, but there are shuttle buses going from the fan zone to and from.
There's a fan zone as well, is there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Are you looking forward to it?
You going?
No. First of all, the flights. I think there's no airport in the city, so you have to jump on a train from what's the place with all the waterworks, all the water everywhere. Venice, yeah. So I was looking at it. So you get a flight to Venice, and then you get on the train from there. And I just felt like there's a very high likelihood that you're going to bump into a few Paris Saint-Germain fans, and they can be a little bit troublesome and rowdy. Not that Tottenham fans are probably any different on tour, but I just don't fancy it, to be honest. So a bit of an effort to get to. I'll watch it at home.
We're staying just outside Venice, but we are flying to Milan and hiring a car. So that's what we're doing. So
how long to drive?
To Udogie from Milan, 4 hours.
Not too bad.
And an hour and 20 back to Venice after the match, and then we'll have a nice line, hopefully go into Venice itself on the Thursday morning, and then drive back to Milan for a 6 o'clock flight back Thursday night. So we've got hopefully a nice couple of days coming.
Do you think we're going to win?
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Really? Even though they might be resting a few of their players. You know, they've had to have the 3 weeks off following the. I mean, how long's it been since the Club World Cup? About 3 weeks, right? They
would have been back for about 8 or 9 days. If they came back, they probably came back yesterday. So they're 9 days before the game. But having said that, they've only had 3 days off, 3 weeks off. And who's going to score for us? Who's going to create for us?
So, Pape Matar Sarr. Or Johnson again, ole. No?
Yeah.
It's worrying, mate, isn't it? It is worrying. And like we said last night, the reality is that Tottenham have made a very bold decision here in loaning out. I know you've got your list. And by the way, I always appreciate you whenever there's a data argument, a data dispute on a show, and one person's using ChatGPT, the other person using Transfer Market or FB Refs or whatever it is. Lubo rolls back his chair, leans into one of those stacks, and there he goes.
There you go. The Brighton programme, end of the season, and bar the first team, that played against Brighton. You've got all the stats for last season.
Is that from? So you always refer to the last program of the season for that particular season, do you?
Yes, and you've also got the players' record for their history, their entire history at Spurs.
What, in every program?
No, in this, yes, I think it is in most programs. I think it is actually.
Right.
First team stats. You've got the Premier League table on one side and first team stats on the other. So I can tell you that Romero has played in total 124 games in 4 years and scored 7 goals. And in his career, he's played 244 games and scored 13 goals.
See, this is where, because not that I want to harp back over that particular debate, because I'm not even sure what the debate was about, if I'm entirely honest. It was just one big giant argument between, Savra and Tel, they like to go toe-to-toe. But this is why I always think that either stats, if you're using per 90 stats on like FB refs to look at how good a player is, then you have to compare it to how many minutes they played in the season. Because if they've only played like 1,000 minutes, then their per 90 stats can look extraordinarily good, but you don't know the context of when they were playing those minutes. Were they playing those minutes in 10 minutes at the end of games when the teams they were playing against were already tired and all that stuff? And if you just look at the games played, well, again, you don't know if they were coming on or coming off if they played a couple of minutes. Like, a player like Richie looks horrendous when you look at his games played, goals per games played ratios, but his goals or GA per minute played ratio is very, very good, So maybe he might be the one that gets you the goal, mate, that you need in Udogie, I
think he'll be leading the line next week by the sounds of it. No sign. Is there? No, PSG, I think, for Richie.
PSG, yeah. Do we know how long Solanke has out?
We don't. But listen, we'll know more. We'll see if he's on the bench tomorrow night.
Right.
Thursday night. Get my days mixed up. It's Thursday this week, isn't it?
Do you think? Do you think Palhinha will start?
Definitely, 100%. You'll have a midfield of, I think, possibly Palhinha, Bentancur and Sarr. I think that's
Palhinha, Bentancur and Sarr.
That's how he'll start in Munich.
Yeah, fucking hell, mate. It's not. It really is starting to concern me. I know that the window still has 4 weeks, but the season we only have 12 days. And I think the argument should be made to be able to open a window earlier and then close it at the start of it, or maybe it should be left open for a couple more weeks just in case things happen. Or get rid of the window altogether and just let it be for all year round thing, I don't know. But anyway, let me ask this, mate. So by the way, guys, big up to you all. I will be coming in and saying hello to everyone as we go along. Big up to you, Richis. Big up to you, Blaine. But I'll start whilst I see Blaine's name there. Blaine has been an absolute legend as always. As always, Blaine, handing out 5 Spurs Talk Show memberships. I'm planning tomorrow night, guys, to do a phone-in show. So please, if you are a member and you fancy having a chinwag with me, then keep your eye open for that detail on the channel. Appreciate you so much, Blaine. And if you did receive a membership, please say thank you to Blaine, absolute little legend that he is. And Bourbon Buzzard, I've seen your name like 3 or 4 times in the last couple of days. I can't get over how cool a name that is. It should be a name of something like either obviously alcohol makes a good sense, or I don't know, like a mountain, a skiing resort or something sounds like a really good place as well. Bourbon Buzzard.
It could be a free spirit that likes a drink.
Very good. Very good. Very nice. Very nice. Mate, I want to, like I say, guys, I'll be saying hello to you all in a little while, but please do smash the like buttons. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone. 700 people here. Keep us warm with your comments. Lubo, let's just talk about this for a second. So this geezer, what's his name? His name is Lee Wilmot, who's the head of football at Football London. And I've got the quote here. He says, where is it? He says, Football London understands, sources tell us that Tottenham are confident that they will, quote, have the funds to carry out their transfer plans this summer, with Frank prioritising both a central attacking playmaker, as evidenced by the approach and subsequent failure to sign Gibbs White from Nottingham Forest, and another centre-back with a good level of experience to bolster the Danes' options in the back line. The move to sign a centre-back may come as a surprise given the number of players Spurs have in the position already. And it carries on, and it talks about forwards. But just quickly, mate, like, does Football London saying our sources tell us that Tottenham have the funds to carry out their plans? Does that reassure you? Or does your brain immediately go to, well, that depends on what the plans are? And I know how you feel about Daniel Levy, but maybe they're not planning to doing that much more.
I think a lot of it possibly depends on what Frank wants. Because if Levy's clever, he's going to want to bend over backwards to help Frank in this first transfer window to get the relationship off to a good start. Particularly having finished 17th last season, which I think was a massive wake-up call for the club.
Yeah.
I'm sure Levy probably didn't think that Spurs would sink that low under Ange. And, you look at the last 12 games, we lost 9 of them. We drew 2 and 1 and beat Southampton. So the end of the season was just a disaster. I think we're on a par with Southampton in terms of points won. Let's wait and see. I don't believe anything until I see a player with the shirts, with the video comes out. This one is signed from on the Spurs website. Just don't believe it anymore. You hear so much. There's so much chat. I mean, you had major ITKs last summer saying that Eze was coming to Spurs. Spurs were talking to Palace. It was rubbish. Spurs never spoke to Palace.
Yeah.
Steve Parish.
Minor ITKs.
ITKs
saying that Morgan Gibbs White was 100% done. Curse my sources.
It happens. I see the bit of mud that was on your shoulder last night. You finally washed off now. So you're okay now.
Yeah.
But
when you get in a tussle, mate, and you got to try and wrap people up in pretzels or whatever Sava calls them, mud falls off you pretty quick,
Yeah.
But do you think Daniel Levy and like if there is the intention to carry that plan out, what does that look like to you? Do you genuinely think that Tottenham really are looking at a centre back right now? And if so, it can only be a left-sided one to compete with Micky van der Ven, right? We don't need another right-footed, do we?
think so. We've got 5 centre backs. If you're saying that Vuskovic, they're looking to move on. Phillips and Dorrington have gone. Frank's talking about Davis as left-back cover. So if you separate Davis for a moment, I know a lot of people say, but yes, of course, he can play centre-back. He played quite a few games there last season. But if you're looking at specific, proper orthodox centre-halves, we've got 5 on the books, of which 2, Dragusin and Takai, are injured, and Takai hasn't even spent a minute on the training ground yet.
Did he arrive injured, or did he get injured in the medical or something? What?
No, he was injured. No, he brought the injury with him.
That's interesting. Why would we buy an injured player?
I don't know.
He's been here for a month now. So
the injury is plantar fasciitis.
What's that?
Which is a foot injury.
Okay.
And it's something that should clear up. Can take a few months. I think he's had it for a couple of months, 2 or 3 months already. And for the next couple of months, hopefully he'll be fine. Dragusin, I read today that he should be back in training in October, which is good.
Sorry, who's come back in training October?
Dragusin.
Training. So he won't be back until probably January then.
Yeah, probably Christmas time. So you've got Romero, Van der Ven, and Danso, and you've got Premier League, Champions League, Carabao Cup. You can't start sticking Gray in at centre back again with Davis. It's just not.
So fourth choice for now would be Davis.
At the moment, 4th choice is Davis. Now
remind me why it is that we're loaning out Vuskovic.
We're leaving it. Because they want him to have experience. They all,
He'll get experience at Tottenham. Are we mental? Like he'll be playing by the middle of September. It's who we are.
you'll have Vuskovic, Dorrington, and Phillips all out on loan.
It's mental, mate.
I don't understand it. We've got no 10, and they're sending Donnelly out on loan. At least
that's mental as well. That is really crazy as well. I mean,
at least replace Donnelly. Get a replacement for Maddison if he's going to maybe or wait to make a decision on Donnelly till you know what's happening with Maddison. Then have a look at the Maddison injury. Have a look at his.
They haven't even got the scan done on Maddison yet, have they?
Right. Have a look at his potential return date. Have a look at Kulu's potential return date, and then work your strategy about what we're going to do about a 10. It doesn't make sense. Mikey Moore isn't ready. He could have played a 10. Donnelly is further on from Moore, and some will say he's not ready. He had a very good season, albeit in League One last year. But if he's the only 10 in the squad, and we've got the other 2 10s that are injured, what are they loaning him out for? It doesn't make sense. It's madness.
Do you think maybe they're going to Well, so I'll say one thing. We did experiment with Udogie. This is on the presumption that we don't sign a 10. We hopefully we will. I'm begging that we do. And if Lee Wilmot is talking from a position of knowledge, not just a position of fingers crossed and putting out a piece of content because content has to content, then
as long as he's not the source of your ITKs, we'll be okay.
It's not the source of my ITKs. There's no more sources from me, mate. I learned my lesson on that one. I took a stab. And like I say, just quickly, I would never make anything up. I say what's in the news. Sometimes it's spurious. Sometimes it's barrel scraping links. But that's just the game. But I would never be so brazen as to come back on the car on the way home and say that. It wasn't even like a big thing. It was halfway through my video. It just went, oh yeah, by the way, I met a couple of guys who definitely know a thing or two. Like 100%. They're very much clued in. And they both said it with such certainty. And I probed them. I was like, oh, come on now. How are you 100%? They both were like, yep.
Sean, do you think they were winding you up?
No. These people, one of them doesn't watch YouTube. The other one does, but they've got nothing to benefit from it. And they're friends of mine. They wouldn't, or one of them's not a friend. One of them is a friend. The other one isn't, but there's nothing for them to gain. They're not trying to, claim any bragging points or anything. And they didn't even really it wasn't like that. If you were a fly on the wall, you'd see it was absolutely sincere, absolute confidence. And it was just like, there's just no doubt it's happening. But I guess, maybe it caught everybody off guard. Maybe it even caught Tottenham themselves off guard, seeing that the contract was signed that night. I don't know. But like I say, I learnt my lesson. It's not worth the effort, mate. It's not worth the hassle. If you're right, people just say, yeah, well done for guessing. And you got for saying what everyone, it was obvious. It was always, if you're wrong, gee whiz, the amount of, it was brutal. Twitter was brutal. And Twitter's a nasty place anyway. But that night, Twitter, I woke up in the morning. I was like, oh my God. But never mind. But back to the point. With the 10 thing, is there any potential thought process here, assuming that there is no, just on for the squad that we have? Udogie was experimented a little bit, wasn't he, as a 10 at the end of last season? Could you see him maybe being shoehorned into that role?
No, I actually agree with one of the comments I've just read from International Observer, who said we need a marquee 10.
Marquee, yeah.
We need a marquee 10.
I take your point about the 10, but I can tell there is nothing to explore about Madders and Kulu. They are both not a reliable enough 10 for the future. We need to invest in a marquee. Yeah. Well, look, Eze's the obvious one, isn't he? The obvious one. Like, it's so obvious. It's screaming. And I just, for the life of me, can't understand why Tottenham haven't just gone, how much do you need? All right. Just do it, But Crystal Palace, Paris is a nightmare. Maybe that's the reason why Arsenal have sort of looked in other directions. But we seem to have a better relationship with West Ham now, mate. Would you take Lucas Paqueta in the 10?
Yes, I would do. Obviously, Eze would be first choice. I have Paqueta next, possibly, with who's available. I've no idea who's available in Europe. I don't follow European football like you guys do. But
is that player Akliouche, who we were linked with about 2 months ago? I wasn't that impressed when I ran him through the Y Scout, but everywhere I turn on YouTube or whatever, all these other fans of other clubs that I occasionally watch, they keep saying that this guy is he's going to be a superstar. He's the next big thing. Akliouche, Akliouche, I believe. Let me just double check on that. Yeah, Magnus Akliouche. He plays for Monaco, 23 years old, and plays in the 10. and as a right winger, predominantly actually off the right. To be honest, he's more of a right winger that can drift into the 10. I think is that because he's left-footed? Yeah, he is. Yeah, so he's sort of like the inverse of like an Eze sort of thing. You know, like Eze's a right foot that sticks on the left and drifts in. He does the same, but off the right. You know, we should have gone and got Cherky. If there was any chance that we could have got Cherky, he would have been the guy, cheap as chips. I know that City went and got him, and when they pick up the phone,
they knew all about him. You know, they knew about Rooney as well. You had him as well. It's just poor. It's just, you know, they just don't move quickly enough for targets. Now, I understand maybe Frank's come in. He wants to have a look at this at the squad and see who he wants, who he doesn't want, who he's not sure about, who he needs to see in games. But someone like Eze is a no-brainer. You just go and buy him.
Yeah. We'll come back to the 10, mate. That's an interesting comment here from John Caress. Big up to you, John. He's saying the priority of a centre-back feels like Thomas Frank wants the option of back three this season. Do you think that's maybe part of the conversation here, that because there's not really a lot of fullbacks out there that like there's a couple of fullbacks that I think Tottenham could look at that are in the sort of top 50 that are not already settled? Probably Cambiasso from Juventus is one option. You've got, obviously, Anthony Robinson would be great, but he's going to cost a fortune. There's not a huge amount of fullbacks out there. And on that basis, could you see Thomas Frank at times going into more of a three and then maybe using someone who's more advanced as a winger as one of the wing backs, but having three centre-backs at the back that are just rock steady and rock solid, and that there's no real concern then about the gaps, especially if you put Paulinho in front of them. Then you could allow your wing backs to be, you know, really advanced and really aggressive.
He's got to be concerned. He's got to look at the games that Romero played 26 games last season. I think Van Ven played 22 out of 60. So he's possibly unsure how many games he's going to get out of those two. So that's possibly why he wants. I mean, he's got Danso. Dragoson's good, I think, months away. Takai, who knows? He could be someone for 2 years' time. And a deal came up, and, you know, if a good kid comes up for 5 million, and he's going to be worth 20, 30, 40 in 2 or 3 years' time, then you take him, and if you need to sell him, there's nothing lost because you get your money back either way. Yeah. That could be the reason for me why he needs a sixth centre back. Yeah.
Who would you like that to be?
Well, personally, I want Vuskovic to stay.
Yeah, same.
If Frank's thinking of a back three, you know, Spurs going to be playing a lot of games, and you can't play Romero and Van de Ven every single match.
Well, certainly not if it's a back two with fullbacks that get up there. It leaves a lot of work. It leaves a lot of covering on the sides. Even if you put Paulinho in the 6, and then that allows the fullbacks to sort of to get forward, like a Porro and a Udogie, for example. If you do get transitioned on, you're still going to have the same problem where the opposition are just going to say, just try and go over the top of Paulinho, right? Cut him out. So you get your wingers. If you're, I don't know, whoever, if you're Arsenal, you just get, you know, Saka and Martinelli or whatever to sit on the wings, and then you pump it over. That's going to ask a hell of a lot of Romero and Van de Ven to cover.
He plays the old style, where if you've got a, say, Udogie pushes on up the left, Porro drops in.
Yeah.
Romero goes across to where Van de Ven is, and Van de Ven then covers Udogie, and that's old style defending.
Yeah,
I was taught that defending when I was playing, God knows, 50 years ago. So, yeah. And the way Frank is setting up, that's and
does look that way, doesn't it?
That's how it looks. He's not pushing both fullbacks up together, and I'm not talking about inverting. I'm talking about wide. He pushes one wide, and he brings the other one in. You know, the game started off the other week against, I think it was Reading, and it looked as though we were playing back three because Udogie was pushed up and Porro had come in. So
yeah, Udogie was hugging the touchline, and Porro was certainly shorter than him, nowhere near as advanced. He's shorter. I mean, short like
further
backwards and lower, and also more narrow. So it does look like they have a sort of skewed sort of model there.
Yeah.
I've still seen though too much in the opening games, too much of this sort of one-dimensional. It's the same old thing. Just put it down the left wing, and hope, and then that's where the creative spark comes from. This is why I just think that if you go and get someone like, well, Pellegrini can do it, but if you go and get that young kid out of Barcelona, Marc Caicedo, who we were linked with today, who's been called like brutal, who's been called a terror. He's a 6, right? He's a DM. But he reminds me a little bit of Samuel Ricci who's just joined AC Milan, that was at Torino, who's slight but an absolute monster, super fearless, and a bit like sort of Lucas Berghvall, but with a bit more of that defensive kind of resilience. But when he gets the ball for Barcelona, because they obviously play very high, he gets the ball in the sort of the bottom of the middle third, and his first thought is always just to look to see which one of the wingers for Barcelona is ready to go, and they know the trigger. As soon as he gets the ball back, they're on their toes and going, and he just hits these sort of super direct pings into the channel, and it just turns defense into attack in a heartbeat. And if you know that you have that threat of having that double threat, that double width threat, then to me, it's such an unbelievable tool as long as you have a 6 that can switch the play. I don't know if Pellegrini can do it. I don't think Bentancur is like, by the time that if Pellegrini wins the ball back and then hands it off to Bentancur, the moment's gone. So like, even if he was to do it, that the sort of the defense can reset. So like, it would be awesome if there was a never-ending pot of money and we Bissouma left the club and then we went and got someone like him to be able to do that. But priorities are priorities, right? And I just don't think at the moment we've got time to be pissing around with six more transfers in the next week or two. We've just got to get a couple done. But again, I don't know why a centre-back is the priority right now. Just keep Vuskovic, Lubo.
We need a centre forward. You can't work the whole season and rely on just Richie and Solanke. They're both injury prone. And you can't, we need a 10, obviously, and we need an 11.
Yeah.
Solomon looks like he's on his way. Gill, I'm sure, will be transferred. Mikey Moore's out on loan. Sonny's gone. We've only got Tel, literally, and he played Johnson there the other week, and Johnson didn't look overly comfortable on the left. So for me,
Johnson's not comfortable anywhere on the pitch apart from when the ball falls to him. But fair play to him. Like that goal that he took against Newcastle was, if anyone in our club is a Jermaine Defoe type, short backlift, poacher, an assassin. I mean, there's superlatives and adjectives I wouldn't usually ascribe to someone like Brennan Johnson, but he's probably the sort of the candidate that has more about that in him than anyone else in the club, right?
You're lucky Sever's not on the show. You compare
him. He'd go mental. He'd roll his eyes and go, hang on, I'm not having that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, Johnson's a different player to Defoe. He's obviously our main goal scorer at the moment. He got 18 last season, including 5 in Europe.
Would you play Johnson in the 9 at all?
Play Johnson next to the 9.
And 2 up top.
I think, I played 2 up top. Personally,
was it a crap shot that was deflected? Was it? I don't think I ever saw the replay. I think I was too busy. Was it? Fair enough.
It was straight and it took a deflection and veered away from the keeper.
I'll take it all back then. Screw him. Fuck him. He's still backdoor Johnson.
But you know what? The hardest job in the world, the hardest job on that pitch is scoring a goal. And that's why normally, I know there's been a trend for midfield players to go at mad prices with the Chelsea boys and Declan Rice, but strikers normally fetch the highest transfer fees, and there's a reason for that. It's goals are the currency that win games. So for me, you can't knock Johnson. I just wish he had a bit more to his game, because for me, if Johnson scores, you put him off because he's not going to do anything else for the 90 minutes. You may as well put someone else on who's going to do it. And unfortunately, he very rarely scores more than one. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. He's just not good enough outside of putting the ball in the net. And I know people say, but Ian, what's the game all about? And it is about scoring goals. But if Johnson isn't scoring, he's contributing nothing to the team. And
Someone sent me this.
a major problem.
So Danny Kiriakou forwarded this tweet earlier. So Sonny last year had 23 goals and assists, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Maddison had 23, injured, and Kulu 21. So we are 67 GA short that we have to make up. How many GA are we conceding? How many fewer GA are we conceding with the more organised backline?
We conceded 63 last season. I would hope it drops to 40.
Okay, so we can only concede 4 if we don't replace the 67 GA that we've lost in losing these 3 for the first half of the season, or at least 2 of them for the first half and 1 of them forever. I mean, it's just begging. Let me just quickly do some super chats, Lubo, and then we'll crack on with the next story. JB McCauley, big up to you, my man. Hope you're okay. He says, do we have elevated expectations of Academy and Frank is realistic? Not good enough for Champions League. Now, I think that's something we covered a bit last night, wasn't it, Lubo? Like, do you think that the fan base has been sort of convinced that because our youth team has been so shit for so long, that now it looks better and all these hype, winning the under 17s, under 18s, under 21s, all that stuff?
Yeah.
Well, you think that these guys are monsters, but in reality, none of them being loaned to Premier League or top league, apart from Boskovic and Alfie Devine, who went to Belgium. Was it Belgium or Holland? Are we
Charleroi,
yeah.
Are
we guilty of thinking that they're better than they are, or are we just being, or are we right, and that the club just for whatever reason is thinking more about the future than they are about the present?
What it is, we're fans, and we want these kids to be good. We want them to come through. I think about since Perryman came through for me in '69, there's been 5 major players that have come through for me. That
5 since 1969.
5 since Perryman, Hoddle, King, Campbell, and Kane. And those 5 are head and shoulders above anybody else that's come through. And listen, there have been some good players.
5 in 55 years.
5 in 55, 56 years that you could say are absolutely top players. Much as I hate saying that about Judas, he was super.
Yeah, he was class. Yeah, he was class. He was class.
Those 5 are way ahead of. I mean, listen, we've had some good people. We've got some good people coming through. We had Nick Barmby, we had David Howes, you have Vinny Samways, Winks and Skip recently. They both fetched 40 million. They were playing.
Yeah, I can't believe the money we got for that. We were mocking the Dewsbury Hall story earlier on Football Inc., going, how did Chelsea do it? But Dewsbury Hall is a really good player, and they got 25 million for him. We got, what did we get for Ollie Skip? About 20 million, wasn't it?
We got 20 million for Skip.
Yeah. And how much did we get for Winks? About 15, 20 as well?
No, I think Winks may have been less, thinking about it.
Was he? Yeah.
He may have been less. But
yeah, Nicky Barmby was electric as well. I remember him in the 94 season. He was fantastic.
It was a shame. There were kids coming through then. Darren Caskey everyone thought was going to come through and be massive. You had Andy Turner at that time. He came in and flattered to deceive. Unfortunately, we haven't had that many, that have come through. Unfortunately, Ian Walker.
I'd love to know. I'd love to get maybe I'll do it boring stat day or something. If it's raining out, maybe I'll go and dig around. How many are we calling those 5 that you're talking about? Are we calling them world-class players?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so how many world-class players does each club generate?
Would you call Perryman world-class? Perryman was a superb professional.
I don't remember him, to be honest. So
I wouldn't call Perryman world-class.
He was a legend of the club, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Perryman was a terrific defender. And I never understood. I think Phil Neal got in. Perryman played he had 1 cap against Iceland instead of Phil. Phil Neal played every single game. And I always thought Perryman was a better player. You know, Phil Neal got him because he was playing for the all-conquering Liverpool team in that period. But it was a shame. But
yeah, I'd love to know like how many club legends / close to world-class players have, you know, Arsenal brought out in a generation. You know, players of like the Saka level or whatever else. How many have Chelsea done? How many have, and also that have been at the club since they were not just been brought in at 17 and then been the beneficiary of someone else's hard work, but gone through the academy. You know, I'd like to know that because, you know, yeah, 5 and 60 odd nearly years is it's not ideal, is it? Not sensational. It's sort of, we're probably overdue for one, but you know, you're not going to get too many, are you? No. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you, mate. Cat Funt. Lubo was just talking about you behind backstage, just saying about the name is sensational. I believe Levy will pull a rabbit out of the hat. Fingers crossed. Lubo, maybe this is our time to slide into the Daniel Levy conversation, mate. Do you think Daniel Levy will pull a rabbit? Or will it be Vinay if it happens? Will it be Vinay or will it be Levy? Or will it happen at all?
If they get SA, I don't care who it is. Levy can take all the credit. I don't care. They've just got to buy the right players to strengthen the squad. And price is irrelevant. If you pick up a gem for 15 million, it doesn't matter. If he's the right player, he's the right player. And if that player costs 80 million, go and spend the 80 million.
Yeah.
It's not about the player is better because he costs more. It depends on what system you're playing, what type of player he needs, what type of player is up for sale, is there to buy.
Thing is, though, is that you say that like in the future tense, but in the moment, we were having this debate last night. Again, I don't want to go into an argument with you, but I'll certainly have a discussion. You were saying, and Stel was saying the same thing. You know, you just want a chairman that puts their best foot forward and does the best they can and gives it a go.
Yeah.
Kevin Danso turned out to be a good signing.
Yes.
But when Kevin Danso was signed, I remember most people who were on the Levy out sort of side of things were rolling their eyes saying there's a typical Levy signing.
I don't know.
There's no retrospective kind of correction on that, saying actually it's perfect for what we needed and he's a really good player. Good value for money.
I'd never seen Danso before he joined Spurs. I'd never watched him. So I had no comments. I had no opinion. But he came in and he settled in, and you could see he was a good player from the first minute. And you know, if the problem we've always had is we've never had a big squad. Redknapp had a good 11 or 12. Poch had a good 11 or 12. And if you had a run of injuries, there was too big a drop down to players coming in and replacing them. But Danso is one of those that you feel that there's not that big a gap. If you lost Romero or Van der Ven, playing this system, playing this orthodox system, not Angie's system that relied on a Van der Ven, then you would hope, you look at it and think, okay, one of them's injured, not ideal, but we've got Danso coming in, and I think Dragusin will be very good under Frank as well.
Same.
He had a very good year in Italy. He's superb in the air.
As is Danso.
Yeah.
You know?
So,
I can't remember Danso making a mistake. I might be wrong, and I'm sure someone in the chat, or if not you, Lubo, if you can remember, but I don't remember Danso being at fault really for many things in his first season.
Can't remember any.
Any clangers, any monster like, oh God, what's he done there? I don't remember any of those, but I can remember several with Romero, not always for his defensive faux pas, but for like maybe his behaviour on the pitch. I know that he got a red card against Milan. That will always live in my head as being like bozo. Yeah, it's stupid behaviour. And Micky van der Ven, I've got to be honest. I've got his name on the back of my shirt over there. Like I love Micky van der Ven. But I do think that the style of play that we played last year allowed him to spread his wings for the things that he has that no one else has, which is that electric physicality. In a lower line where you're more organised, I worry a little bit that the bits of him that are extraordinarily good aren't going to be necessary, and the bits of him that are incredibly vulnerable Like his positional sense for aerial plays from set pieces leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
There was like you could have parked a bus through the gate that was often caught when balls were crossed in at the tail end of last season in the Premier League when he was playing alongside Anzo at times in the back line. I think that his aerial presence needs a hell of a lot of work. So, I'm just a little bit curious to know whether or not Micky van der Ven will have another extraordinary season, or whether it was more of a the right attributes for the specific system. In a more generic system, it's not going to be quite as pronounced.
Well, recovery tackles is no one better. Don't think there's anyone better in the football league, in the entire 4 divisions. The guy is just superb. I remember him being put on his backside twice by Isak at St James's Place. Not St James's Place, St James's Park.
Yeah. Is someone like that doing your pension? Are they, mate? Maybe St James's Place.
So for me, this season is a big season for Micky. It's a big season for a lot of the players. I think we're strong at the back, so I don't think we'll lose that many games. At the moment, you can't see us scoring too many goals. You can see quite a few draws, 0-0s, 1-1s. It's not going to be expansive. You're not going to see the goals. When we scored plenty last season. When we didn't score, we were 0s and 1s. I think that will change this season. I don't see us scoring big chunks, 3s and 4s and 5s like we did last season.
Yeah.
Unless we strengthen substantially in the next 3 or 4 weeks. But I don't see us getting hammered. Liverpool beat us 6-3, beat us 5-1. In both league games. Chelsea scored 4 at our place. We got, we were well beaten in certain games. Wolves scored 4. So
they did. They did. That was embarrassing.
Don't see that happening too often this season. I just see it. The goals.
What did Brighton beat us on the final day? We all hung over.
Brighton scored 4. Brighton beat
4 or 5. They got past us on the final day.
4. It was 4.
4 was it? Yeah. That was horrendous.
But the players were out at a celebration party after the parade 36 hours earlier. So
yeah, but let me ask that though. Right? What would Tottenham have done if Tottenham were in a? I don't know. I suppose it wouldn't have mattered because we already qualified for the Champions League via the cup. But in a world where you had the FA Cup final or something on the following Saturday or the following Sunday, would they have just been like, nope, no drinking? Or do you reckon they would have gone out and got smashed anyway?
No, I think they'd probably have 1 drink each. Just have 1 glass of champagne, maybe on the plane home, or maybe in a dressing room after. And I think that would have been it. Because you look at United. United had, look at their treble. They had 2 of the games very close to each other. I think we didn't they? They won the league.
They did, yeah. Yeah, and that's just professionalism, I guess, isn't it? If there's nothing to play for, there's nothing to play for. But that 3 points we could have had against Brighton, I think that might have been a difference between finishing 17th and 16th, and it might have given us an extra 3 million quid in the bank. So it was a very expensive party, mate. Very expensive hangover. Maybe that cost Ange Postecoglou his job. Who knows? Tell you what, though, it was seeing Brennan Johnson slightly half cut and still smashed with the alcohol pouring out of his. It was the first time I ever see him take a man on in the first 15 minutes of that game. I was like, Brennan Johnson, he should have a shot of vodka before every game. Look at him, the confidence is there.
Well, was at the parade, the security guys couldn't get him in. He was the last player to come away. He kept running out. He kept running out with the UEFA Cup to cheers for the last 5 minutes. All the other players had gone in. He's still running, coming back, running. It was hysterical when everyone was cheering.
Yeah, 100%. Let me finish off these super stickers and super chats. Thank you so much, guys. By the way, Bantry, big up to you, my man. Super sticker. Appreciate you very much. We're coming over to Ireland to pick you up, buddy. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate you, boss. Cat Fun is back in again. Catty boy. Eze is not going to Arsenal. We should grab him. Is he not going to Arsenal? Is that the story? I was watching Dan Potts earlier, who thinks that Arsenal are progressing and that they're close. Have you heard anything on that one, Lubo?
I think the question is Is Cat an ITK? That's the question. That's what we need to know.
Do you know what? Just quickly, that guy that I was telling you about backstage, different ITK or different person completely. He was texting Johnny and I the other day saying, like, Tottenham are working on a 10, and then Johnny was like, yeah, hopefully it's, blah blah blah. And he was suggesting that he had a lunch with some people and at the Tottenham training ground, and that they were all busy. It was all hands on deck, and the name that he kept hearing was a certain man. So we shall see. I'd love it if it was true. It would be. I don't know. I think everyone would just go, yeah, that's awesome. Kudos Eze, Polinia. Like, at that point, you can't really go lower than a 7 out of 10 in the window, can you?
No, that would be a good win there, and you raise that to an 8 if Sakai comes through.
I still find it odd that we would sign a player with whatever that. What was that? What was the phrase you called it? What's the name?
Plantar fasciitis.
So what is it, like gout or something? Is it like a bone injury in the foot, or
it's a problem with your foot?
But like specifically, is it like a bone injury? Is it like a joint injury? What is it? A toe injury?
Let me have a look.
Okay, whilst you're doing that, I'll run through those super chats. Thank you very much, Catty boy. I appreciate you, mate. Mr. The Bud 74. Sean knows more players than our recruiting team. I really hope that's not the case, mate. I really hope that's not the case. But I tell you what, the Y Scout is a wonderful tool. If I wish that I've spoken to that company Huddle, HUDL. I must have had 100 conversations with them and said, do you know how many people I speak to every day that would love to get access to this tool? It's like it's too expensive. It's too expensive for the average person who just has a sort of fleeting thing. It's like, if you can give me some discount, I'm sure like a few hundred people would sign up if you would give it to me cheaper. And they keep saying, I'm sort of talking to like a sales executive who's built on commission. I'm like, you could treat me as like your affiliate, mate. Like, you could make a fortune out of this. I wouldn't want anything. Just give it out to people that I know for a cheaper price. He's like, oh, I'll come back to you. And they never do. I don't know what they're doing. Great tool, but terrible at business. Terrible business people. David Crick says, if we want to be a big club, let's start acting like one and go and hijack the Sesko deal, followed by Grealish and Eze. Sick of all messing around now. Tell you what, David, as much as I'm a big fan of Benjamin Šeško, 85 million euros. It's mad money, mate. It's a stinkfest of a price. Lubo, are you familiar with Sesko? Like, do you like largely familiar with him?
Seeing a few bits and pieces. He's 22, very young. It's a big punt.
It's a huge punt at that price. It's ridiculous. It's so much money for a guy that's done he scored 13 goals last year.
Do you know what? Visser at 50 is a better deal for me.
And that's too much money as well.
He's proven.
He is proven.
I know he's 7 years older, but he's Premier League proven, and that's what we need.
Did you find out what that injury is?
I did. The plantar fascia is a strong fibrous band of tissue that runs along the bottom of your foot, connecting your heel bone to your toes.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah.
Right. The condition he's got, the heel, and this condition causes heel and arch pain due to inflammation. Okay. Of the tissue that runs along the bottom of the foot. So that's what he's got. He's got an inflamed foot. He's got inflammation in the foot.
Okay.
The inflammation arises from repetitive strain and small tears in the fascia, often due to factors like overuse, improper footwear, or structural foot issues. So
overuse of the foot. Been walking too much.
So,
here's the heel, man. Rather than getting your 10,000 steps a day, shrink that down to 2,000. Do a bit of YouTube instead, and you'll be just fine. What are we doing here, mate? If it's overuse of the foot, or it's a structural foot problem, or he's been using the wrong shoes, then he's either a donut or there's a problem with the player, because he's like, that's a problem, right? That's not something that, like, you're not going to be running less, are you, or walking less? You're a footballer. Have we signed that? How did he pass the medical, by the way? Doesn't every medical make you, like, they check your heart by running on the treadmill?
you may you could you don't have to be running to have a stress echocardiogram, because they put you on a bed and they tilt you and they do all the heart checks, because I had one of these a few months ago. Thank God everything was fine. And they tip you over, they turn you up, they turn you back, and it is a really invasive. It's like a CT scan of the heart, so you don't need to be running to check whether you've got a heart problem or not. So,
well, they can put you on the bike, I guess, as well if they needed to do something cardio-wise, couldn't they?
Yeah.
But still, though, I mean, of all the teams to buy an injured player, it's Tottenham, isn't it? It's who we are. It's absolutely a Dr. Lubo spitting facts, 100%. Dr. Lubo spitting facts. Thank you very much for the super chat. Let me go. Let me see. Is there any more on here? I think we've done that one from David, and then Cat Funt's come back in again. Thank you very much, mate. He says Romano said Arsenal for Lookman, not Eze. Ooh. Is that that's the actual quote? Is it Arsenal are going for Lookman and not Eze, or they're just saying Arsenal were going for Lookman and didn't mention Eze? Because they're two different players. They're playing two different roles. Like, you can make the argument that Lookman's is a false nine, a nine, or a left winger, and he can play on the right as well if necessary. Quality player. I really like him. Really like him.
I think when you guys are looking at Romano, is it Tavolieri, the Italian guy, David Ornstein, Ben Jacobs? I think Cat's part of that elite group now, don't you think?
Well, appreciate you, Cat. Appreciate you, mate.
He's going through big time. He's going through big time. I need to follow him on Twitter. Keep my followers up to date.
Meow, Cat, meow. Hang on, we got Robert. Robert's an ICK as well, saying not true. And then Cat saying, well, it's not a quote, but that's what you said. Okay, so I've thrown on the wires. If they're saying that Arsenal, I have read as well that Arsenal have turned their attentions away from Eze. Where else would Eze go, mate? Where else could you see any other club?
We've got battle of the ITKs here on this show tonight.
Well, I'm here for it. You know, just keep coming out with stuff, people, and we'll keep bringing it up. Ange Ball says, Lookman is that guy for Spurs. We should be all over him. He's brilliant, mate. He's prem proven. He was nothing spectacular for what he's worth when he was in the Premier League, but since then he's just grown up and developed and more mature and time away from. But he can handle the Premier League, and
Sean is on a different level to Tel, isn't he? He's levels above. So
yeah, I don't know. I've pitched my. Carl, you talking about sports science? We're talking about injuries, Gary. We're talking about injuries, mate. We're talking about plantar. What's it called? Plantar fasciitis, or what's it called?
Yeah, that's the one.
Is that what it's called? Plantar fasciitis.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Gary. Good to see you, mate. Gary's coming on the Football Inc. Next week, I think, or the week after, or something. We're looking forward to getting some inside scoop on what's going on with all of the crazy fitness stuff at Tottenham Hotspur and around the Premier League. This is the guy that is involved in all that, so we're really exciting to speak to him. Ademola Lookman. Yeah, it's just I'm being reminded here. He said he was a dickhead. I don't know if he's a dickhead. I'm just saying the fact is that he's had trouble. He's had arguments with Gasperini and with Pigua. Is that his name? What's his name? The current. I always forget his bloody name. The Atalanta manager.
It was Gasperini, wasn't it?
Juric, sorry, Ivan Juric. Yeah, no, it was Gasperini. He went to Roma, and it's Ivan Juric now.
Yeah.
And he's had fallouts with both of them. So, you know, is he a bit of a donut? I don't know. But it's, in terms of a player, he's cracking. But if Arsenal are looking at him, as I've said 1,000 times, there's only 3 players in the left wing spot that do everything on a high degree of output that I think are super important metrics for wingers that you want that can do that terrorizing stuff, take-ons, successful crosses, shots, goals, assists, through balls, passes into the final third, touches into the final third, and also pressing from the front. If you want someone that can press from the front, there's only 3 of them that do it, that tick every box to the highest level in the game that are realistic. And for me, they're Lookman, Gordon, and Garnacho, which is why I've always been quite quite keen on Alejandro Garnacho. Would you take Garnacho, mate? Talk about dickheads. Would you take Alejandro Garnacho to Tottenham?
Would I take Garnacho? He was the only one that worried me in Bilbao.
He didn't start, did he?
No, he didn't start, which was a strange one for Amorim. I thought that was
cutting his nose to spite his face there a little bit, wasn't he?
Yeah, he played Mason Mount, which for me was a strange one. Garnacho got at Porro. I thought Porro did brilliantly, considering. I just think of Garnacho with that horrendous miss. Was it the League Cup when we beat them 4-3? Or was it the league when it was 1-0? I can't remember. There was a ball came across in front of the south stand and he put it into Rosette.
Right.
What I think of Garnacho, I think we could probably do better. I think we could do better. In fact, for me, Anthony Gordon's the player that for me, I would love to see.
You know what? I don't know if there's any chance, right? I don't know if there's any chance, but if Newcastle are trying to raise money, and they don't want to sell Isak, but they're looking around their team and thinking, where else can we raise money without absolutely disrupting our team? They don't want to sell Tonali. He's too important. They would never sell Guimaraes. He's too important. Joel Linton's too unique. Their back four needs help anyway. Imagine if Tottenham picked up the phone to the Saudis or whoever it is that's putting. I mean, they haven't even got a director of football up in Newcastle at the moment. But if they picked up the phone and said 70 million for Anthony Gordon,
do you know what? They've just bought Alanga, haven't they?
Yeah.
So they've got Alanga, they've got Jacob Murphy, they've got Harvey Barnes.
Good player.
Yeah. So Barnes can slot in where Gordon plays.
Yeah. Well, he did against us, and Gordon played in the false nine, and I thought he did really well. By the way, he did really well.
So for me, if you went and bought Gordon on the left, Eze as a 10, and Wissa, I think that would be a absolutely superb transfer window. And if we did get the odd injury at the back, you could live with Davis and you could live with Gray there. Just about. If you're able to get those three players.
I think Anthony Gordon would never come. We should have got him when we bought Richarlison. We were linked to him back then, and we were having discussions. Like Tottenham had made a bid or whatever, and the fan base went, "Don't want him." And I was like, "You guys, you're insane." I went to that Everton game, the Tottenham Everton game, where we won 5-0, and the game was over at half. I think we were 4-0 up at half time. I don't know if you remember it. It was a few years ago.
Kane scored from miles out, didn't he?
I think so.
I think we ripped them to pieces.
Ripped them to pieces. They were like, it was a boring game, mate. I was sitting there at half time. I was like, we can go and have a beer if you want that. I was with my dad.
That was Conte's first season.
Yeah. And
that was March 20.
Anthony Gordon was the only person in the Everton team that was working hard in that second half. And you just see that kind of tenacity and that fight in him, that kind of desire. He presses for days. He's a super baller, a super talent, and I don't think it would ever happen. But if Newcastle are desperate to raise money and they need to do something, and they want to keep hold of Isak, I don't see what's wrong with the conversation. What's wrong with picking up the phone and saying, we'll pay you, we'll double your, well, not double them, whatever. We'll give you 200 grand or 180 grand. I'm sure he's not earning that much at Newcastle.
I mean, you look at Gordon, Wissa, Eze, Grealish. These are all players. For me, proven Premier League players. Go and buy at least.
Apparently, Gordon earns 150 grand a week at Newcastle. Would you make it? Would you pay him to? Would you make him the club's highest earner, Anthony Gordon?
You could give him 175.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think he'd be the highest earner. I think Romero might have something to say about that if it came to it. But
hi, Sava.
Gordon would be 100 million.
Oh no, I'm just sort of running the. What's happened there? It's done something stupid. We're just playing thought experiments, mate. We're just seeing if if Newcastle need to raise money, but they don't want to sell Isak, is there someone else on the team that is potentially gettable? I'd break the bank for him. I'd break. No, listen, I'm just having a conversation. I'm just having a conversation. I'm not putting it out there. It's not an ITK. We're just saying maybe. Why not? Pick up the phone, find out what the interest is. You never know. Never know. Do you want to come on, Sab? You can come on if you want, mate. Let me know. I'll send you the message. Send you the thing. Hang on 1 second. What about what was I going to say to you? Sorry, sorry, I asked you the question. Garnacho, would you take Garnacho knowing that he's potentially a dickhead?
Listen, he's better player than Tel. He's not great on Tel, that's for sure. But I'd rather have Gordon in front of Garnacho. So, is he coming on?
I don't know. I'm just gonna
coming on.
Text him the link anyway.
If he doesn't agree with what we're saying, he'll be on.
Yeah, hang on. I'm not having that. Is that it? OGSDT down.
Bring Saber on. There you go.
There you go, Sav. You're more than welcome, buddy. He wants to. Oh, he's having a night off, is he? Oh, fair enough. After all that, he's not going to come on. Well, the offer's there, my man. The offer's there. If you want to come on, you can. A couple more super chats. Let me just quickly run through them, my man. Ulrike has jumped in with a suit. Ulrike, has put in a super sticker. Thank you very much, Ulrike. I hope you're well, enjoying your bath with your G&T and whatever else you're doing. And Super Early Birds as well has come in with it wasn't a super sticker, but it's a super chat, but nothing said. Thank you very much to both of you. Super appreciative of all of the support for the show, guys. Really, he's just told me if I stream, she divorces me. If I stream, she divorces. So no Sabbath tonight. No Sabbath tonight. It's all good. Choo Ulrika. All choo. Mate, let's just sort of pivot up the story a little bit. Randall Kolo Muani. Have you seen the odds of him joining Tottenham have crashed into 2-1? They were like 8 or 10-1 or something 2 days ago. And the odds of him joining Juventus have crashed out to like 6.
Does anyone know why? Bookies don't normally get things wrong.
Well, it could just be that it's a very thin market for what it's worth. It could be a very, very thin market, and then someone's put 50 quid on, and that's enough to crash in the price. I got no idea, but the story that's out there is that Tottenham have, that they are. I did a video on it this morning. It was Tottenham are head of the queue, front of the queue, for excuse the balloons. Bissouma's in the room. That he's front of the queue because Juve they need to sell. They've just sold Timothy Weah to Marseille, but they're still trying to sell Dusan Vlahovic, and they're also trying to get rid of someone else. Is it Nico Gonzalez? I forget who's the other one they're trying to sell. And obviously, they want a loan with an option, whereas Tottenham are willing to just give them 45 million quid and or 50 million, whatever it is, and go.
He didn't want us in Jan. Why would he want us now? I'm trying to work that out.
Different. In January we were a team.
European trophy, maybe.
Yeah, European trophy, Champions League. In January we were just a team that was in 15th in the league and unlikely to win anything. So, or new manager maybe. Maybe he prefers playing in the Thomas Frank system. I don't know, mate. But would you want him?
Do I want him? The Moani from. Not the Moani from Juventus, the previous Moani. I would like.
Who? Dusan Vlahovic?
No, the previous Moani from his previous club, because he's
Frankfurt.
not the best of Juventus, has he?
No, was it Ajax? Sorry, was he Ajax or Frankfurt? Moani was it Ajax?
It was Frankfurt.
Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Frankfurt. Yeah. Yeah, he was cracking at Frankfurt. He was really, really good. Look, I'll be honest. He got 8 goals in the second half of the season for Juve, which isn't bad. I don't think he's like Johnny loves him. Johnny absolutely loves him. I'm not as sold on him. I think he's going to be someone that's kind of like a moments guy. Like when he's motivated, he can probably turn things on and just devastate. But at the moment, mate, I'll take him. I'll take anybody right now because I think that we're running out of time. But if you were to list out sort of 5 strikers he probably would be bottom of the 5. He'd still be on the list, but bottom of the 5. Evan Gassand, for what it's worth, I really liked Evan Gassand and he's going to Aston Villa tonight. So be interesting to see what will happen there.
I'll repeat what I said on the Sub Show earlier today. Grealish on loan. We're certain there's 117 million for the 3.
Grealish, Wissa, and Eze. Yeah.
Yeah. 117,
117, are you saying?
Yeah, because you've got 118, you've got 68. Palace want 68 for Eze, and Brentford want 50 for Vissa. So if you paid both amounts that those clubs want, you've got 118 million. If you can get Grealish on loan, which would free up with an option to buy for the end of the season, then you've got 60 million sitting there from the Morgan Gibbs White deal. I've just read they've sold Sonny for $29 million.
Was it 29 in the end?
Was it 29? It was $29 million. I think it was about £23 million. It's the highest MLS transfer fee by about £1 million. So they got 23 for Sonny, 60 from Morgan Gibbs White. There's 83 towards 118. That leaves you 35 million. That's it.
You'd probably have to pay a pretty big fee for Jack Grealish, wouldn't you?
If they paid a £10 million loan fee, that's 45 million, and you've got those 3 players. So you're just adding 45 million to the money you've already set aside that would have gone on the Morgan Gibbs White deal. And
then you probably still have enough money left over for a centre back.
Yeah,
because we apparently had 70 earmarked for Gahey, and we had in January, and we had apparently, according to reports, offered and had it accepted as well for Bournemouth's Ili Zabarnyi.
So money's there. The money must be there. We're not talking about a lot of money. We're not talking about spending the money that Liverpool are spending. So it's there.
Do you think City will deal with us?
Why not? Just go and make it happen. Stop prevaricating.
Because every time they phoned us regarding Harry Kane, Daniel Levy didn't pick up the phone. I could just imagine Pep Guardiola picking up the phone to whoever it is that's running the shot over at City, saying anyone but him.
Well, listen, I think you've got to get Vinay to phone, haven't you? That was all it.
Well, he's in charge now, isn't he, mate? He's in charge.
Of course. Daniel, you're out. Vinay, I'm ringing Pep. You leave him.
Yeah. Well, what do you reckon with the centre-back thing then, or the defender thing? Would you go and get a hybrid player? Would you get a fullback who can also play on the left? Like, would you go and get a Castello Lucaba, who's at Leipzig, who's a left-footed, left-sided centre-back that can definitely play if asked to, but it's definitely like a Van der Ven, can play left-back, but it's more just a left-footed, just a left-sided centre-back. We were looking at him when he was in France like three and a half years ago. Ended up going to Leipzig. He's one of the best of that. It's a dry market for left-footed defenders. There's really not a lot going on. Piero Hincapié, I think someone told me that he's got a 60 million euro release clause, but that Eric Ten Hag is like, we can't sell him. We can't sell any more players because they're like Bournemouth. They've been absolutely ransacked over the summer.
2 players I would, if you said to me, you got a choice. Yeah, there's 2 players you can buy for Spurs that are available. In a perfect world, I'm not saying they are. Then I go and get Gahey from Palace and Anthony Robinson from Fulham. And you strengthen a very strong.
You get Gahey and Robinson.
Yep. You can never have too many good players. And let's start to build a super squad. For the first time in my lifetime, let's build something special.
How do you? Okay, so then your back 4 would be, and the back 8, if you like. So the two options. You'd have Udogie and Robinson.
Yeah.
You'd have Porro and Spence.
Yeah.
And then in the centre backs, you'd have you'd have Van der Ven and Gahey playing on the left. Would you?
Yeah, and Romero and
you'd have Romero and Danso.
And let them fight it out for whoever deserves their places.
Yeah, wow.
Then whatever happens, if you get injuries, you get suspensions, someone just comes in and it's a seamless transition.
But those 2 would cost you I mean, Gay, he's turned us down anyway, so it's irrelevant. We're playing the game here, I guess. We're just Dream World Football Manager stuff.
Yeah.
But
it'd be probably 45 million each, I would think. So you're looking at 90 million.
So 90 million, a freebie for Jack Grealish, 70 for Eze, the 160.
Just over 200 million.
200 million, and Tottenham are cooking.
Those five. Can you imagine we get those five in? Right?
Oh, mate.
See,
give me a hard on.
Hold on, just looking at that pig flying across the.
And this time I've got to do this one.
When you start hearing people like that say things like that, that gives me a fucking hard on.
It does, mate. It does. Those five would be absolutely insane. 200 million on top of what have we already spent so far?
We spent 60 million.
60. And we got, how much did we get for Højbjerg?
Well, the Højbjerg money went on Danso.
So Højbjerg and Danso cancelled each other out, did they?
Pretty much, give or take.
So 60 on Kudus, and that's it.
55 Kudus, 5 on Sakai.
Was there a fee for Polinia?
5 million, I think.
Okay, so we're at 65.
Yeah.
Sonny's got you 20 back.
It's 23, so that's 42.
42. Brian Hill?
Sure, we'll get something.
7 or 8, maybe?
Brian Hill, they'll probably get 10 million for Hill.
Okay, so that's 32. What about Tel? What about Mathys Tel? We paid for Mathys Tel, didn't we? Or are we not including it because it's the Harry Kane money?
No, that wasn't the Kane money, but I think that was worked on prior to this.
So we're not including Mathys Tel money now.
No, because they would have put that money to one side because they'd have known that money was going to have to be put down.
Yeah, it can be in one account or the other. It's still come out of our money at the end of the day, isn't it? So let's add it. Let's be fair. Let's add the 40, right? We'll add the 40.
Okay, so you've got 29 million there.
What's that? Sorry,
you got 29 million there. It was 35 million on top of added to the loan fee that they paid in January. So you got 35 million euros, which is
35 million plus. So 35 plus
35 million euros, which is about
plus 65 is 100 million, right?
60.
60. So you said 55 for Kudus, 5 for Takai, 5 on the Polinia deal, and then the 35 on Tel. That's 100 million.
20, about call it 30, because it's 35 million euros. Call it 30.
Okay, so 95 million. 95 million quid, right?
There's 23 for Sonny.
Okay, so 72.
72.
And then what are we saying? 10 for Hill?
10 for Hill, 72, that would be 62.
What about Solomon?
50, you get 15 from Leeds there. That would take you down
47.
47. 15 for Bissouma. Takes you down to 32. and then you go
maybe 25 for Richie. Takes you down to about 7 million quid.
Yeah.
Now we just need the 200 million that you spoke of.
Absolutely.
And Tottenham are in business.
There you go. Yes, is it 61 Tyler? Yes, I am in La La Land. It doesn't happen that way. I'd love it to happen that way, but
I hope Lubo isn't driving tonight. Yeah.
We're dreaming. We're dreaming. We're dreaming, believe me.
Yeah, we are playing the dreaming game. 100%. Solid accountants here. Yeah, where is Brian Hill going? Is he still going to Girona, or is that falling apart?
He's injured at the moment. He's another one that's injured.
I didn't stop us.
You got to him
finding a player.
When I was with Sam, I forgot to Gil was injured as well. So we've actually got 8 injured. Udogie, Solanke, Maddison, Kulu, Dragerson, Solomon, Takai, and Gil. So we have 8.
Do you put Kulusevski on that list?
Yeah, Kulu's on. We've got 8 injured at the moment. It's a good game, this, isn't it? Eh?
That's pretty low for us, to be fair. And then we've just lent out all of our kids.
Yeah. We'll start with we'll have a squad of 15 for Burnley at this rate. That'll be good.
Oh, it's insane, mate. It's insane. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. So what are you saying, mate? Listen, I wanted just last topic. I wanted to give you, because I think that last night, you know what happens. Like, there's 3 of us in the room having a squabble, and you had your go, and I kept chiming in, challenging you, and then Stel chimed in on me, and then it just sort of went in one direction. Last topic for you, mate. Like this, I'll give you the cracker. I won't interrupt. Daniel Levy's his performance. Is it as bad as the Levy outs are saying? Is it as good as the people that want to see the good in it are saying? Was it just a nothing burger, or was there takeaways from it that are legit and fair and learnings?
I think if you are interested in real estate, if you're interested in what goes on behind the scenes regarding chairman's meetings, you know, they're talking about regulators, they're talking about parachute payments. Listen, from that angle, it's interesting. As a football fan who's very invested, I want my team to hit the heights. You know, before they put me 6 foot in the ground, I just want to see one Premier League before I go. And he talks about Premier League and Champions League, and it's just like a throwaway line, because it's easy to have sound bites. Just go back to what he said. He wants Spurs consistently trying to win trophies. He's in it to win it. Nothing has changed regarding ambition. I probably agree with him on that one, although we probably think it's different things. And to me, it's great. It's great having sound bites. That's great. You just put out the headlines. You know,
he's never done it before, though, has he?
He very rarely speaks, and I think in the past, my pal Jeff, who I quoted the other week
Hi, Jeff.
I'm probably not sure he's watching tonight, but Jeff always says he speaks so infrequently that when he speaks, read into what he says, because normally what he says normally sets a trend for how they behave, whether it's in transfers, whatever it is. I'm a fan. I want to see some substance behind the headlines. I want to know, fine, how are you going to get us there? How do you think we'll get there? What plans have you got for the club?
Well, one thing I think we can rule out on that basis is multi-club ownership.
For sure.
Did you agree with that as well?
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
I was so surprised what you said there. I think I said it last night. I was expecting it to be one of the next things that we would do, especially when everyone else is doing it. But I almost feel like, and this is probably where I'll lean into some of your thoughts, like we can meet in the middle here, is that he's seeing teams like Chelsea plugging in just one team in Strasbourg and then using it with their revolving door, eBay FC, incredible buying and trading of players, and then using that club not necessarily in the same way that other clubs use their MCO model, but they're just using it as like a feeder club, like a reverse engineering feeder club sort of method. And then Liverpool are taking a look at that and going, shit, there's so much value to that. We should probably be doing the same thing, and have just gone and bought Getafe. Right? And even Burnley, Mike Pace, ALK Capital, they've just gone and bought, through their side venture Velocity Sports, they've just gone and bought Espanyol. I don't even know which of those two clubs would be higher in the pecking order, but I almost feel like the reason why Tottenham won't do it is because if they were to do it, then there would be one of the excuses potentially why Tottenham don't buy players is, well, there's no space in the squad. Whereas if you go and get a feeder club, if you go and get a club in an MCO model, then you don't have that excuse doesn't wash, because you can just use them the way that Chelsea are using Strasbourg, right? So it's almost like the way that he spoke about them was such like, oh, you know, it's a slippery slope, it's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. The rules need to be, considering that he broke ground on that like 25 years ago.
With Rangers and AEK.
Slavia Prague and all that stuff, right?
Right.
So considering he broke the ground on that trend, to now talk about it the way that they are, it's almost like he sees it as a threat. And whilst he could jump on that same bandwagon, he doesn't want to, because then he'd have to do more with regards to player trading than he already does. So maybe we're on the same page. I think he's using that as an angle to defend himself from future criticism.
Well, I think if we're in a room and he said, Lubo, what do you think of buying another club? And I say, Daniel, sort out your own club first before you start thinking about anything else. Get it right. You haven't got it right for 25 years and you want to go and buy a second one. You know, that's double the aggravation, double the trouble, double the mistakes, double the losses. And
that's the other thing, isn't it?
Because although he has brought the valuation of the club up, now part of that was part of it is organic, and part of it is down to the enormous inflation in TV money that's come in since 2000. It's just rocketed, hasn't it? The money he's lost in footballing deals is immense. The money he has thrown away in charge of this club has come to an absolute fortune. And you know, you just look at the transfers that have gone wrong. So many more have gone wrong, Sean, than have gone right. And there has to be a better balance, I think, for a team to be successful. I think, you know, clubs who bring in top recruitment people bring in more trophies than we do. They're more successful. They finish higher than we do because they're buying better players. And at the end of the day, it's whatever industry.
Sorry, say that sentence again. Clubs that do what better than we do? Clubs
who are more successful than us, whether it's league positions, whether it's trophies, whatever it is, have better recruitment than us. Because, you know...
Well, not necessarily. I mean, Brighton has better recruitment than us.
Well...
Brentford has better recruitment than us.
But we're not talking about the same level of club here. Brighton and Brentford are much smaller than us. They've done very well to come from where they come from. But with the financial strength that we've got, we are up there with the other clubs.
Okay, well, Aston Villa?
Are Villa in the same league as Spurs financially?
Not financially, but they're in the same league as us in the size of the club historically.
But would you not agree that, you know, we've made, apart from a couple of periods when we had some very good players in, we've bought an awful lot of rubbish, an awful lot of poor players. I remember hearing that Pleat went to Levy and recommended Watkins, and Levy said, "I'm not paying 33 million, including add-ons for a player who's not guaranteed at the moment to get in the first team," and they ended up spending 3 million on a loan for Carlos Vinicius. Well, that didn't turn out very
I know,
good.
mate, but again, I don't
want to go into example. There are so many that.
But there's also so many examples of wonderful outcomes. If that wasn't the case, we wouldn't have been the best of the rest for as long as we've been.
We're the best.
When he took over, when Daniel Levy took over, we were not the best of the rest. We were a struggling team.
We were mid-table. Right? We were mid-table, weren't we?
We were mid-table, and often sort of. I remember relegation scraps where we were actually, there was chances we were going down.
Yeah, that was 98. That was 98 with when Klinsmann came in.
Yeah, was that. And obviously, the season after Juan de Ramos won, we were bottom of the table, weren't we, or something? When Harry Redknapp came in, and he ended up getting us to 8.
That was because he got rid of, I think, Berbatov and Keane in that window, and gave him Fraser Campbell.
Yeah.
And it was a disaster. I mean, we had nothing up front. We were losing games we shouldn't have been losing, and we were stuck at the bottom. And once you start
the general trajectory under Daniel Levy, whilst doing it organically, which I know no one cares about because it's not our money, and all they care about is the bottom line, and that in the bottom line is the four teams that have always been more successful, or 5 teams have always been more successful, and that's have pulled away and been yet more successful, and then the 2 teams that weren't, who have come in. All that stuff is kind of irrelevant because ultimately it's not our money, and who cares about the detail? We just care about the output. At the end of the day, on the broader spectrum of the point, since Daniel Levy took over, our club has done that until 2020, and then it did that without the trophies. But in terms of the overall league position, and I'll always maintain that the league is your best barometer of where you are as a football club, because you don't have the variance that you do in cup competitions. Cup competitions, you can get, you know, anything from injuries to the luck of the draw, whether you play home or away, all those things. As in the football league, you have to play everybody twice, home and away. And the argument is that the rub of the green eventually evens itself out with bad decisions or whatever else. And so when it comes to the league, until 2020, when we moved into the new stadium and then got to the Champions League final. And after that, everything just sort of went tits up.
Well, our league position on average, last 25 against previous 25, I think we had this on the show the other day, didn't we? It's gone up 2 positions.
The 25 years under Daniel Levy versus 25 years before.
League position has gone up 2 positions at 1.9, I think.
On whose show was that? On
one of our shows. I can't remember whether it was Stel or Sava who mentioned it.
I think Stel used to bring up this graphic, but it was massively inflated because he had us finishing first in one of those seasons, but we actually finished first in the old League 2.
No, I think, no, we finished third in the old.
Or whatever it was, third. Whenever it was that, when we went back up, we finished third. He had us down as finishing third, which actually would have been 26th. And so it was like he never readjusted that mistake, I don't think, in his data.
Okay, but
either way, like, and over the last, I showed over the last 5 years, finishing 17th, finishing 8th, and everything, that's definitely hit the average. But surely you'd agree that from 2001 until 2020, in the last sort of 15 years of that, we were finishing 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 5th, 6th. It was always somewhere between. Like the 2nd was an outlier, 3rd was an outlier, but 4th, 5th, or 6th was the general position we finished, right?
Yeah, anything down to 8th, I think, was the between 4th and 8th, and that ties in with my thoughts that they will take the club to a certain level, and then because they're risk averse, they won't stretch because there's no guarantee of success.
It's the law of diminishing returns, right? You have the more money you've got to pump in, the less likelihood you have of getting additional juice. And I hear you on that. But just this notion that anyone, nothing will change until the owners go. There's a lot of examples, as I said last night, there's a lot of examples of teams that feel the same way about their owners or felt the same way about their owners and then eventually got new owners and nothing changed. Because for me, it's always been the same thing. It's not the ownership of any particular football club that's the problem. It's the overarching narrative within football, money, rules not being fit for purpose, and corruption.
Well, I must say, let's compare us. Let's talk about Liverpool.
So if you're gonna point to the absolute excellent example, then everyone's gonna fail.
If we take Chelsea and Man City out of the equation,
why not? Why are we taking them out of it?
Because you talk about them in a different light financially that we're not involved in. That's not our gig.
Yeah, but they've taken 75% of all the trophies to be taken in the last 15 years. So if the ultimate failure is because of relatively fewer trophies now compared to the past, when 75% of the trophies in 75% of Daniel Levy's tenure have gone to the hands of those two teams, you can't take them out of the equation.
No, but if you look at Liverpool, who've won the league twice in the last 5-6 seasons, haven't they? I think they won it 2020 and 25. We've only won the league twice in our entire history. But we finished above Liverpool, I think, through the previous decade, Sean. I think we finished above Liverpool 7 out of 8 seasons.
Yeah. Because they almost went bust after Gillette and Hicks.
So
they had a massive financial problems, and then the latest crop came in, and obviously they've been incredibly excellent, right? But like I say, if you're going to point to the anomaly to the rule and say that that's the standard, then everybody's going to fail in comparison to them when they do it by the books. It's like pointing to Wrexham and saying that's the method of running a lower league team.
Right, but Liverpool were clever. They needed strengthening in certain areas. Before the add-ons, they got 105 million for Coutinho. They spent 140 on Van Dijk and Alisson. So all of a sudden, you've got probably the best centre-back in the country, and you've solved your goalkeeping problem, which was a massive issue. That he fumbled 2 shots into his own goal, didn't he, against Real Madrid in the Champions League in 2018, that final. And they did it cleverly. They didn't do it like City and Chelsea do and spend the money they've spent. Liverpool did it cleverly, and for me, there's no reason why we can't be as clever as Liverpool. They do it with smart recruitment. They buy well in the transfer.
They buy anyone that they whenever they pick up the phone, mate. There's no question the player saying yes. It's not the same for Tottenham.
Well,
would you at least agree that there's a pecking order and that part of the transfer, it doesn't matter how. Look at Newcastle. They've got all of the ambition in the world, but they can't convince anybody to go because every time they go after one of those monster blue marlin whales, every time they do that, Liverpool or someone else picks up the phone. Manchester United are probably going to get Sesko ahead of them. I hope they don't. I hope Newcastle actually get Sesko, just because I think they deserve one of these things to land. But if Newcastle have shown all the ambition that you would like Daniel Levy to show, and imagine if Tottenham had gone after all those players this summer, and then every single one of them fell. Would you be saying, well done, Daniel Levy, you gave it a crack? Or would you be saying you didn't offer enough money or whatever else? In reality, it doesn't matter whether the money was enough. If the player has the option to go to Liverpool or Tottenham, he's going to pick Liverpool.
I think the answer to that, Sean, is well done for showing ambition. How do we get around this problem? We're not getting the players in. It's a problem. Now that we've got a problem.
There's collateral damage to that strategy, though, Lubo. Right, if you are the 10th person on that list that Newcastle have tried to sign this summer, there's two problems with being the 10th person on that list. One is that player might go, if the previous 9 turned you down, why would I come to you? And the other side of the coin is that same player is going to say, you didn't want me. You wanted the 9 guys that you called before me. I'm just the guy that hasn't turned you down yet. Guess what? I'm turning you down too. And so if you air your dirty laundry in public and you go after all of these big shots, when you don't realistically have that kind of credibility, you don't have that draw. There's a massive double negative on trying and being that ambitious, but living beyond your means in terms of delusions of grandeur, which is what Newcastle have.
Are they all centre forwards though?
No. They went after Gahey. They went after the goalkeeper. Who was it who turned them down? The guy who's gone to Manchester City from Burnley.
Yeah,
Trafford. There's a couple of wingers as well. There's loads of different players. There was a midfielder that turned them down as well.
In different positions, but there will be players. There will be players of a level down who will move to Newcastle.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though, right? So if you air your dirt, if you got all this like show ambition, how do you know that Tottenham haven't? But it just hasn't got out to the press under Johan Lang that keeps everything close to his chest. How do you know Johan Lang hasn't phoned up Sesko or his agent or Leipzig and said, any interest in coming to Tottenham? And he's just gone, no. They go, okay, no problem. Thanks anyway. And then you'll never know about it.
In fairness, Sean, we can only talk about things we know about.
That's what I mean. So but because we don't know that those things haven't happened or have happened, we assume that they haven't happened. And that's fine for the purposes of an argument. That's absolutely fine. And I would be if you were saying the opposite, I'd be challenging you on it. So it's fine. But the reality is that there is a double negative and collateral damage to having ambition that actually reaches into the world of delusions of grandeur. And I don't think there's that much of a difference between Tottenham and Newcastle right now in terms of the draw of the project. If you go for that top tier player and somebody else who is a top tier club picks up the phone, it happened to us with Luis Diaz 4 years ago. And I just think that Newcastle United need to come down a little bit off their sort of pedestal and realise that they can get a little bit smoother in the transfer market, get a little bit closer to where they want to be, because they're running out of time. If they were to approach players that are actually attainable, like a Vissa, like maybe a Nicholas Jackson, something like that. But if Tottenham Hotspur were to go after and punch above, part of your, can we hear your 7-point manifesto one more time? Do you have it in front of you?
It's here somewhere. It's on here somewhere. I'm not sure I can find it off.
Newcastle might get desperate and come in for Richalison, but he'll turn them down. I fucking hope he doesn't. I'll drive him to St. James's myself.
No, I can't.
You haven't got it? Oh, never mind.
I can't. I'll have to find it, type it out, and keep it here for shows just in case people want to hear it. We can pin it up on the Spurs 5 one night. We can actually have the Spurs Lubo's manifesto for having more chance of being a winning chairman.
Yeah. Do you understand my point though? Do you understand my point around like this? The kind of ambition is important for sure. Like never set yourselves any kind of limits, but maybe don't do it in public. Maybe pick up the phone and kind of figure out whether there's any chance before you start telling, before it starts leaking. Because I think that Newcastle have essentially wasted 6 weeks. We wasted 2 on Gibbs White, and Gibbs White was someone that I would say was eminently attainable. Although Nottingham Forest owner thinks that Tottenham Hotspur are a backward step, which is laughable. But to him, it's not. But Nottingham Forest aren't there picking up the phone trying to get Benjamin Sesko, are they? They know where they know the size of the pond that they're fishing in.
Sure, but Newcastle also got Champions League football.
Yeah.
So, why not go for these players? They've got a problem. They've got a big problem with Isak. They're looking at it. They'll sit down. Hal will sit down with the board. Right, we've got a massive problem here. How are we going to resolve this? What's the best way around this? Best way around this is to buy somebody who is a good striker, and then get rid of Isak, and maybe if there's a decent enough amount of money left over, go and get a second one. Sometimes you need two players to replace one.
I definitely think they do. I think they need a centre back. They can't start this season with Fabian Schär, as their starting right-sided centre back. Sven Botman is very good, but Dan Burn, they're getting on. They're not young anymore. Some of those players, right? So they need a centre back, but they went for Mark Gahey and he turned them down. There's lots of centre backs. If you're looking for a right-footed right-sided centre back, Newcastle United should absolutely go and get someone like an Usman Diomande, right? Who's an up-and-coming talent, and he'd fit in really well into that system. He's fast as well. He's talented. Sure, he'd be really good in the Premier League. But he's not coming from a club that's
Is he from Lyon?
Yeah,
he's a Lyon boy. So you've got to go out and you've got to hunt down these kids that are coming through. Again, you're not.
Sorry. Usman Diomande is he's playing for Sporting. Sorry, right. Leon, he's playing for Sporting. You got to deal with that. You got to deal with that nutcase Varandas, who's a lunatic.
Yeah.
Well, he's like they say he's the Portuguese Daniel Levy, don't they? But But I'm just saying that there's lots of players out there. But if Newcastle keep going for players that Liverpool want, you're gonna lose every time, and that's the point about when you use Liverpool as that kind of example of look how brilliant they are. They do have the draw, even when they went through that period where they were, like you say, we were ahead of them 6 or 7 seasons out of that 10-year period. They were still Liverpool, and they could still outbid us. They could still outdraw us on any particular player because it's Liverpool.
But you see, had he kept Paul Mitchell, then the recruitment
Newcastle or Tottenham.
Tottenham.
Yeah,
probably and Newcastle as well. Because him and Howard just clashed, didn't they? I believe from day one. I think I've read the reports. But had we kept Paul Mitchell, then again you've got a very good head of recruitment who's bringing in good kids, and maybe the scouting for the kids would have been better. We've gone downhill for so many different reasons, Sean. It's not just because Harry Kane went 2 years ago, or the great Poch team broke up, and there are many reasons why we went downhill. And unfortunately, you've got to have people that at the top that are desperate for success, that are driven, that are absolutely driven to be the best. And if they're not, then you're going to lose out to the owners that are.
As I say, look, I understand that sort of 70% of the fan base online think the way you do. But I'll say, no disrespect to you, mate. I know you're very passionate, and I know you personally are a very intelligent guy, but I just think it's a massively overly simplified version of looking at things. And I just think that the devil is in the detail in how realistic those things are. Ambition alone is not enough. You need luck, you need talent, you need a superb scouting network, you need a youth model that actually generates players that you can rely on. You need money. You need probably, owners that have those sort of skill sets of being ready to break the law if they need to and try and get around it. That's what you need like a whole. It's a pizza pie of attributes, and I think we have a few of them. I don't think we have all of them, but I think that those that you believe do have everything. I think they're also relying on certain factors that Tottenham won't have, regardless of who our owner is, for a long time.
Well, I think what you've got to do is when anybody takes over business, they'll look at short-term, mid-term, long-term. and they'll work strategies out. They'll look at the team they've got around them. They'll look at, I mean, my son works for a company. They go into businesses and they strip the whole business down, and they look at how to make, how to improve it, etc., etc. Levy should have done that with football people, with someone to come in and say, right, it should have said, right, sat someone down who is qualified, a top professional who knows football inside out, come in and say, right, I've just bought this club. How are we going to take this? How are we going to take this stratospheric? How are we going to potentialize it? Get the maximum out of it, football wise, and then let somebody come in and say, right, for me, this is how you do it. These are the people you bring in. That you've got to have good recruitment for now, for the here and now. You've got to be looking at a good academy for players to come through for the midterm, and you've got to have a good, right the way down through to kids. You've got to have people going out and getting the best kids. Kids of 8 and 9 are being pulled in by pro clubs and taken on.
We're doing that stuff as well, though, aren't we?
Yeah.
All of those things you're saying, I think we're. It's not like we're not doing anything that Barcelona or Real Madrid do. It's just that there's differing levels of accomplishments, differing levels of resources, experience, and successes at those things. But I think that in the last 4 or 5 years, whilst the on the pitch performance has generally regressed since the Pochettino time, I think that a lot of the other things around the football club are starting to get a bit better. But those things are going to take a long time to materialise, is how I see it.
I think this should have all been played. He's been there 25 years. I think it's long enough.
Yeah.
He should have had, fill your way into this is a new business. This is a new business. And instead of, because he worked for his father, instead of following his father's example, where his father went into menswear, learned and embraced the product, and built a great brand that he later sold off called Mr. Buy Right. I'm sure you've heard of the shop, Sean. Mm. Instead of following his father's example, he followed Joe Lewis's example. And Joe Lewis is a very, very successful trader. Now, trading is great in the city.
Okay. He broke the Bank of England, or he tried to.
Yeah, but it's not great. It hasn't been. You wouldn't say Lewis and Levy have been successful for 25 years on the football side, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about building the club.
But that's the thing I talk about. That's again always my rebuttal, mate. Is like when you say those things like the success on the football side is the determinant. Then at that point in time, you have to then bring in Chelsea and Manchester City and consider what sort of competition. It's like saying that the guy who finished second to Usain Bolt in the 2010 or 8 Olympics, whenever it was, that guy still ran like 9.6 that night, right? But he's up against someone that's just inhuman.
But you know what?
Almost wrong word, inhuman, right? Like it's so you have to kind of just also. I always say this, like if you're just going to analyze why it is that Tottenham don't have success anymore relative to what we used to, and the only port of call for the analysis as to why that is starts and finishes in Tottenham, it's like saying, Lubo, the reason why you're not the number one rags trader in the absolute game is purely because you don't get out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning versus 6 o'clock. When in reality, it's because you're up against some monster competitors. That's just the reality of any industry. That if you just look at the strengths and weaknesses rather than the opportunities and the threats, then you're not doing the proper analysis.
My point is that you can only do the best you can do. You can only be the best you can, And I don't believe, you look at Levy's obsession with detail with the grounds, and you look at his obsession with everything else outside of football, and you can see why he's helped along the way, along with the Sky money that's come in, to take the club that when they bought it, it had a value of 76 million, and now they'll probably get between 3 and 4 billion. So if someone has that way of working, then I expect them, if they are chairman of the football club, which is the best job going, unless you play for the club. Yeah. That is a privilege in itself. And for me, you've got to give 100% to that. Now, I remember him coming out with a speech. They put him on the screen, and when the day we left the lane, the day we beat Man United, the last game at the lane, and I remember he was talking about being a custodian of the club.
Yep.
Now, to me, he's a custodian for Enoch. He's not been a custodian for the club, because this is a football club. And if he'd have given 100%, Sean, and would have still finished with 2 trophies out of 25 years, then you've got to say, okay, you've given it your best shot, and you can't ever knock somebody for giving 100%. I
think you'll find a way to knock him if he gave 100%.
I believe that if he took that obsession onto the football side, then we'd have been a lot more successful. Because
maybe I don't think it would have changed. I think that there was a few specific moments that weren't down to him, that we could have had 6 more trophies than we did if things had gone a different way on a different night. Right? If you're good enough to get to the semi-final, even if you're not the strongest team in the final, someone's not going to be the strongest team in the final. The strongest team doesn't always win the final, and so we could have had
most of the time. They do most of the time. Most of the time. Look at the winners.
Manchester United beat Manchester City in the FA Cup 2 years ago, right? That's a very recent thing. I think you can make the argument that PSG. Or maybe they probably are the stronger team out of those two. Either way, I think that if you're good enough to get to the semi-final or good enough to get to the final, then you've got a crack of winning it, right? If we'd beaten Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson, it was 0-0 penalty shootout. That's the 3rd trophy. I could go on and on and on, right? There's so many examples of we've gone deep in competitions, and at the same time we got to the Champions League final, and we've had 2 title runs. I don't know what, I think that
my feeling
come up a little bit short, but the venom that is aimed by so many people towards a chairman.
Sean, why do we keep coming up short?
Because you're up against people, mate. That's the whole point. You have to look outside of Tottenham to consider the answer to that, and I don't think people want to.
But if you strengthen the team, if you put more into the team, if you spend more money buying better players, then when we get to these 16 semi-finals, the team is stronger.
Maybe the cup variance also takes place. We got to the final of the Champions League, and Harry Kane wasn't a part of the half of that season because he was injured. Our best player we've ever had, and he was injured for half the season. Got
injured second week of April.
Okay, well, you take the point I'm making now. He missed the run in, right? And so I think. Wasn't it? He was injured before then as well, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, look, whatever. But I'm just saying that the reality is that there's variance at play. There's things that happen during the night. There's bad refereeing decisions. There's illness. Do you remember Lasagna Gate? I mean, imagine if that didn't happen. What trajectory we could have gone on if we qualified for the Champions League that year. Who knows what reality of timeline we would have been in. There's loads of little things that happen along the path. And look, I don't care where people land. I couldn't care less whether people land on in, out, shake it all about. It doesn't bother me. I don't care if people want to bring in an oil merchant. I don't care if people want private equity. I don't care if people want Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I don't care if you want a multi-club ownership like Bill Foley. Doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when the venom that I see so many people on Twitter. They have such unbelievable. It's like they're like and I'm like, this guy has not done this job that deserves this horrendous hatred. I remember meeting people outside the protest going, the only way we're going to go outside his house. We're going to throw bricks. I'm like, what? What are you doing?
Listen, that's
all because what? Because we didn't lift a couple of trophies, but along the way we had title challenges. Tottenham Hotspur haven't won a trophy in 80 years or 60 years. We had a title challenge in 2017 and 2018 or whenever it was when we finished 2nd and 3rd. We got to the Champions League final. We won the Europa League. How many chairmen in world football can say that? Whilst also competing against the what we've got to compete against. It blows my mind. I'm happy to meet people in the middle when they say, I think he's done a good job, but he's taking us as far as he can. We need somebody else to now move on. Like in business, if you're the founder of a company, like the company, the guy who started Uber. I forget his name. The guy who started Uber, they got to the IPO and then someone tapped him on the shoulder and went, right, we'll take it from here. You're still going to get paid a fortune. You're going to be a minority shareholder. You're a silent partner, but you're not on the board anymore. You don't know how to take this company to the next level. And I'm fine with that analysis, but it's the analysis of like, I don't care about what's happening anywhere else. Everything has to be down to Daniel Levy. And then it's cherry picking of stories, of specifics that fulfill the narrative. And then on top of that, it's just this, all of that summarized in one word is, he's nowhere near as bad as people that feel that way say he is.
I think they will, when they sell, they'll make a lot of money.
So good. They should do. Right.
I've got no problem with that, with ENIC making money. People put their money in. I just feel cheated because I don't feel they've given it their best shot. That's where I feel cheated.
What percentage out of 10 do you think that they've given? What percentage or what outscore out of 10 do you think they've given?
I think they always go to a certain level and then they'll stop. They won't give it.
So they're 7 out of 10 people. They'll give a 7 out of 10.
Maybe they'll go to 70% of where they should be. And
if 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10 gets you as far as they have, then that's insane.
Sean, if you give 100% and you finish and you've got 7 out of 10, then that is where your potential has been realised. You've given it your maximum. That's where you finished. I always told my kids, give 100%. Wherever you finish, you're a winner. Wherever the chips fall, you're a winner. You feel top of the class, bottom of the class. If you've given 100%, you're a winner. If you don't give 100%, then you're cheating yourself. If you're involved in something else, you're letting yourself down. You're letting other people down. If this is a work situation, I think whatever you do in life, give 100%.
But you don't know what he's given, though, do you? It's an assumption based on your predisposition to thinking that he could be doing better, but you don't know how. The guy probably works 18 hours a day, mate.
Sure. It's the business model I'm specifically talking about that relates to football. That Tevez and Cahill, Sahar, Nelson, just one example over halfway through the 25 years. I think that, wouldn't have cost much for Harry to get the players that he wanted. He could have got them.
How do you know he could have got them?
And he went for the cheap option again. And it just goes on and on and on. When Mane came and he wanted higher wages than Kane, and in the end he went to Liverpool. Stretch yourself, raise the money. It's not massive. Raise the wages, bring Mane in, bring Wijnaldum in. And
such a simplified way of looking at it, mate.
And we may they're just small examples.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he hasn't screwed up many times. Sure. I'm sure, of course, everyone has. Like I said 1,000 times, if I make more good decisions than bad decisions in a day, it's a good day for me. I'm sure most people are not perfect, right? Everyone's not perfect, right? But up to 25 years, if you've got an army of people that are looking to cherry pick and find every little thing that you do wrong, if there was 1,000 people, mate, that were just watching the things that they see about you, to just the bits when you come on screen, and not when you're kissing your wife goodnight, not when you're giving your kids a pep talk, none of that shit, just the shit that they see about you online, and they're making a list of all of the things that you've done that are slightly not perfect. I'm sure they could put up a dissertation around why Lubo's the worst YouTuber in the game. But if they knew you personally, if they actually had the insight of what it is that drives you and they see everything about you, they probably wouldn't come to that conclusion. And I think that it's only people that have that kind of vested interest in pushing a narrative that always cherry pick. And over 25 years, if you're human, you're going to have erred. And therefore, it's very easy to make a list about someone like Daniel Levy where you reel off the names of the players that we coulda, woulda, shoulda, and we didn't. But at the end of the day, there's very few chairmen that have achieved what he has. Very, very few chairmen.
Wow. Football-wise, what's he achieved? He's charging virtually the highest prices.
There's only 13 teams in the Premier League in the last 25 years that have won a trophy.
Well, we've traditionally been one of the big five. When 13 teams not in the Premier League, 13 teams in England that have won either the Premier League, the FA Cup, or the Carabao Cup in the last 26 years. But you know,
So
Sean,
it's
Sean,
100 teams. Most of them fail.
I come from, and your turnaround sale is a long time ago. But you know what? Clubs build their reputations and their histories through events. And we started really raising our profile from Bill Nicholson. At the same time, Liverpool with Bill Shankly. United was a different matter. That was Munich, Matt Busby, and the whole thing that's carried on then. Arsenal was from the 30s with Herbert Chapman. They won the league God knows how many times, and that their history started then. Chelsea and Manchester City have been recent.
Yeah, but well, you say recent, but Chelsea and Manchester City have been doing what they've been doing for 75% of the time that Daniel Levy's been here. So it's been an incredible like bull in a china shop in terms of disruption to the traditional status quo. If City and Chelsea hadn't gone through their transition like they had, do you think Tottenham would have won more trophies?
I'm not sure because of the mentality at the top at Spurs. Listen, ENIC have bought the club and they run the club how they want. Everybody who buys a club or business runs it how they want. They could have spent more money. They chose not to. That was their choice. They chose to...
We spent a fucking fortune in the last 5 years then, mate.
I say probably the last 2 years they have, Sean. Rather than
£125 million a year, mate, over the last 5 years.
Well,
whilst dealing with COVID, whilst dealing with inflation that's through the roof because of a war that everyone probably could predict. But
so, and if you're saying 5 years, 125, so that's
since the new stadium. In the 5 years before we moved into the stadium, our average spend was about £13 million a year. The 5 years since it's now probably 135, 140. So 10 times improvement, and people still come out with this clangor of a line saying the stadium was promised a game-changing stadium. It did change the game. It has given us 10 times more money to spend on players.
Sean, if you look at the money that Conte spent, Mourinho spent, it pales in comparison to what Ange spent. Absolutely pales. Ange spent 380 million. In 2 years.
The stadium wasn't, but our revenue wasn't generating as much as it is now. It's not that dissimilar. But you're right. Like Daniel Levy gave Ange Postecoglou a fucking fortune.
He did, and he picked the wrong person to. He gave it to the wrong person. Previously, he hadn't spent enough, and Ange came and he's given loads of money. You can't turn around and say he hasn't spent. But again, giving it to the wrong person. Why? Because of his lack of knowledge in football, he brought in Scott Munn. That was a disastrous appointment. Yeah. And Levy has seen that and he's put that right within 2 years.
Yeah. I hear you about that. I agree with you on that one.
And he made the right choice. And I'll give Levy credit for that. He could have been swayed by the emotion after the Europa League. He went away for a week, detached himself from everything, from Bilbao, from the high road that Friday night. And he came back and he made the right choice, which I'm sure was probably made weeks earlier. I'm sure it wasn't an instant situation because, I'm sure sponsors were getting on his back. Hang on, Daniel, what's going on? We're paying you a lot of money. You're meant to be a successful brand, and we're hurtling down the table. We're losing every single week. I'm sure if you're spending big money, if you're investing big money and sponsoring a club, and things are going wrong, then obviously you're not doing your job if you're not having a chat with the powers that be. So he made the right choice with Ange. We now come up to the current, the present day. What's he going to do from here? The next 4 weeks are absolutely crucial for this.
Yeah, they are. And like I say, mate, just we'll find ground. So we'll go for 2 hours. A good time to roll off. Yeah. But I'll meet you in the middle, mate, and say, like I say, I'm more than happy to call out his faux pas. But when all I hear is not from you specifically, but all I hear generally is like very much polarized and one-sided. That's why I come out with the kind of, I'll play the other side, because no one else really wants to put their head above the parapet and say it. But it's not like it's not an easy conversation to be able to find reasons why Daniel Levy isn't the sinner. Like I'm very comfortable taking the role because I don't think it's a difficult argument to make that Daniel Levy is actually a very good chairman, but he's not perfect. And I think he could have done more, should have done more at times. But I think there's always been some logic as to why things didn't quite go. But with the specifics of making mistakes around player trading, 100% agree with you. There's a lot of mistakes in the past. But as I say, if the next 4 weeks don't materialise in a positive outcome, if Tottenham finish the window September the 1st looking something very similar to what we do now, I'll be the first one to say, what the fuck was that? Unacceptable. And it was one of those key moments where we could have used this as a launch pad. And he said so didn't he, in a video? He did say he was going to use this as a springboard. So talk is cheap, Daniel, And
I think, Sean, you go 17 years without a trophy, and players are seeing that. You're going through the years, and players are seeing that. And players are all, the top players are financially independent. They don't need to come to Tottenham for the money. They want to come to Spurs, you hope to win trophies. And if they're seeing Spurs winning nothing, then it's going to get harder and harder to get these players in because they're ambitious. Kane had to leave to go and win a trophy.
Well, he should have stayed.
I wonder what he's thinking now. I do wonder what he's thinking.
You know what though, mate? I don't know if we would have won had he been here, because there's a hell of a lot of stories out there of big players. I'm not saying holding Tottenham back. I would never be so disrespectful, but look at PSG. PSG became the team that they are after Mbappe left. After Messi left, after Neymar left. Like these monsters that played for them, they go, and it allows everyone to be a bit more balanced. Whereas when you've got a monster and a superstar and too many, I just don't know whether Tottenham maybe wouldn't have won if Harry Kane had been on that pitch. Maybe he would have done. Maybe he would have done. Maybe not. I don't know.
So the difference between Kane and the Galactico, was it Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe?
Yeah,
was that the three of them going forward were superb, but in terms of being team players,
they're not. They're 11 individuals, not a team. 100%. Yeah,
that's right. And so you had 8 players that off the ball would defend, and the other 3 didn't pull their weight. Kane did pull his weight. Kane was a top professional.
No, he did, but everything had to go through him. And I think it allowed other people to take their foot off the gas at times.
Maybe.
Whereas in that Europa League run, you saw efforts from people that, like even Richalison in the final. I gave him a hard time the other day, saying he did nothing in the final. He was massive in the final. He didn't obviously score, but his work ethic. And I just think that sometimes when you have like a superstar like Harry Kane, everyone can just go, "I'll just give the ball to him. He'll do something. He'll figure it out." And that doesn't necessarily work every time. Listen, Lubo, we can carry on talking for hours, mate. I love talking to you, buddy. Tonight was a nice, it was a respectful conversation. Quite quiet and chilled, mate. I enjoyed that. We'll do more of it.
Like last night. We can't have a night like last night.
Not 2 in a row, mate. It's like getting smashed on a Friday and a Saturday. Your Sunday's ruined. So,
and there's got to be quite a difference as well, isn't there, Sean?
Yeah, 100%. The environment, if the environment requires it, the Spurs 5 is about that stuff. This channel is not necessarily, or sometimes it can be. But Lubo, stay there, mate. I was going to do a couple of super chats, and then, by the way, just quickly, actually, before I come to the super chats, Grouchy Steve put this in earlier. Simon Jordan said today his Levy interview is coming out soon. So I didn't know that. So he wasn't sidelined for Gary Neville. They're both coming out. Do you think this is? Do you think that? So is Daniel Levy going to be? Is it going to be the first of many with Daniel Levy, or is this just get them done quick, and then like put it to the back burner?
Listen, I think it's important for fans that chairman, owners of clubs interact with them.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think what Levy's done up to now. I mean, as I was saying to you last night, I applied for the fans forum.
I know you did, yeah, and you got rejected. Yeah,
they're never going to have me in there in a million years.
Why do you want to be somewhere you're not wanted, Lubo? You're always welcome here, buddy. You can tell the world, mate. 36,000 people subscribe to this channel, mate. You can tell the world what you think about Daniel Levy rather than telling a boardroom. Tell the world.
What I don't like about these fans forums, and I think where Levy's got to change, is that he's got to meet real fans. Proper fans who will ask him challenging questions. And let's have, we need to see Levy in front of fans like myself, who will ask specific and pointed questions, and we need to get answers back. There's no point everybody sending in gushing questions. Oh, Daniel, you're wonderful. What about this? What about that? And not sending any challenging questions in.
Yeah.
And, when you make your application, you've got, I think, you got to send the question in. Well, or it may even be, if you get accepted, you've got to send the question in, and that's got the questions have got to be vetted before they get read out. So let Levy.
You know what, mate? You can say the same thing 1,000 different ways, right? So you can ask. You've got to be very clever with how you ask the question, so that it's said in the way that can fall on the correct ears without losing the punch. You can still, you can hit someone with a hook, or you can hit someone with a straight, or you can jab them, or you can uppercut them. It's still a punch, but some of them are going to get blocked, and some of them are going to get through.
That's right. Yeah, and the question that Gary Neville asked about was Bilbao your greatest day as owner, and he said yes, which you would hope and expect him to say. But you've only won 2 trophies in 25 years, Daniel. What do you think your biggest failing has been? Why do you think that's happened? There's none of that. It's always, it's just on the positives. And for me, as a fan, I've had 2 years where there've been real positives, where we've won trophies. Although last season was a bit bizarre because it was our worst ever league.
Yeah, it's bittersweet, wasn't it?
In history, it was very bittersweet.
Yeah.
We've had a few years. We've had 2 or 3 years under Harry. We've had 4 or 5 years under Poch. But sort of 60% of that period has been really poor, and he needs to be asked questions. It can't all be, "You're wonderful, Daniel. What a fantastic ground! What a wonderful training ground! How did you feel after Bilbao?" He's got to sit in front of real fans and answer really strong questions that are going to drill down to why people are upset with this ownership, and he should be coming out and he should be answering that. If I was chairman and I had people demonstrating, I would think, why are they demonstrating? That would bother me. These are fans.
Why they're demonstrating, isn't it? It's obvious why they're demonstrating, because the six, I go back to it saying, I think the people that demonstrate protest, I think they have a passion. They lead their thought processes with their heart, not with their head. I think if you sit down and really chew it over, I think, and if you had access to more of if you had access to more of the context, more of the detail, and a slightly broader perspective around what the challenges are within the competitive playing field, I think everybody would meet in the middle in a more reasonable way. But because there's so much polarization, because it's a passionate topic, it's football, I think you're never going to find that. And I think Daniel Levy's like, why would I expose myself to people that just want to call me a prick, who don't want to understand, who don't really want to hear the answers? They just want to tell me that they don't like me.
Well, listen, at the end of the day, you can't sugarcoat life. You've got to go out there and meet real people. And sometimes maybe the way people put things across isn't perfect. Maybe he will get upset. Maybe people will put things across in the wrong way. But at least go out and meet the real fans. I often think that he lives in an ivory tower, and the story that really resonated was just hearing a discussion he had a few years ago with the trust, and they were fighting to stop the discounts being taken away from the senior citizens. And we would say, his answer was, Spurs senior citizens don't need a discount, they're all rich. Well, in what world are you living in? Come into the real world and meet the real fans. Do you really think that every single fan that's been coming to Spurs, do you think everybody's rich beyond means? Seriously.
If that's what he actually said, that was thoughtless. But I think there is a genuine justification.
It's ridiculous. And
there is a genuine justification to, because if you're just, so here's the argument on that, right? The demographics of the world are such that in the real world, 1/3 of the population are going to be paying for the pensions of 2/3 of the population in the UK and across Europe and the Western world because of the baby boomers in the next 5 years and into their 80s and 90s. So for the next 25 years, if you just take that same demographic slant and apply it to Tottenham, then either everybody in the stadium, 66% of the stadium will be on a senior citizens discount, or if the argument is no, that you're only talking about the current senior citizen sections that are currently get that discount, then how is it fair that the people that currently have those seats get to keep that price, but everybody else that drops into that age bracket has to pay full value? Like, you can't have your cake and eat it. If 2/3 of the stadium are going to be OAPs, then either everybody should get the discount or nobody should.
They're not, because the older you get, the greater the chance of dying. So,
but the reality is that 2/3 of the population in the UK are going to be OAPs in the next 5 years. That is the reality of the situation.
If you go down to the other end of the scale, all the kids that are on discounts because they're kids, I think, is it under 18s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or under 40, whatever it is. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Whatever the age is, they then pay full whack. So one's counteracting the other. But to actually have that thought that all
but not at the same ratio. That's the whole point I'm making. Not at the same ratio.
Well, you need to see all the season ticket holders.
Of course you would. But if you just take the general demographic of the UK and you apply that same model, it's like doing a poll. Like, how many? I'll ask 1,000 people: are you going to vote Conservative or Labour? Or 10,000 people? Well, it's not going to be absolutely bang on to whatever the reality is, but it's going to be close, because if you're taking a genuine poll, then you can make the assumption that whatever the actual demographic of the population is, it will look something similar in the Tottenham fan base.
Whichever way you chew it up, to come out with that comment is just,
if that's what he said, then that was a ridiculous comment. Ridiculous. Although technically, again, on a technicality, he is right that the wealthiest demographic, the wealthiest age demographic in the UK are pensioners, but obviously a lot of that's caught up in people's houses, right? But you can make the argument that, but like, young people can't afford their rent, they can't get on the housing ladder. Why should they pay full price when someone got lucky 50 years ago, before that particular generation, when they were in business and the politicians made the decisions that fuck the rest of us for the rest of our lives? Like, so there's lots of ways you can spin it, but for him to come out and choose that particular argument to say why is really foolhardy and stupid of him. But there is a legitimate argument to say that no one should get a discount, because if some people are getting it that are in that bracket, then everyone should. And if everyone does, then you've got 33% of the stadium that are going to have their prices raised to replace the revenue that comes from the discount that's added to the people that, by the actual stats, don't need the discount in the first place. So it's like, either way, he shouldn't have said it the way he did, but there's an absolute legitimacy to the argument.
For me, that's all. If he's going to talk, then great, terrific. Come out and communicate. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. We've seen plenty of other chairmen, not so many. You don't hear from Sheikh Mansour, you don't hear from Kroenke Senior, but then they're not as hands-on at their clubs as Levy is with us. So for me, I think it's only correct that Levy comes out. I think forget about this fans forum where fans are handpicked because they're pro Daniel, and they're going to send in lovely questions, and everything's going to be, it's all going to be lovely and snowflakey, and isn't life wonderful? Bring proper fans in, let them ask questions, sit down with them, with Vinay.
What, unvetted questions?
Unvetted questions.
Who does that, mate? Politicians don't do unvetted questions. Even at PMQs these days, every single question that the PMQ gets asked is pre-vetted, pre-seen. That's why they have the answers. They're just reading. They're talking heads now. They just read the answers off their book.
I know.
So the world doesn't work that way. Yeah, listen, mate. We've been going for a long time. I want to just quickly do the super chats, mate. Great chat though. We'll do this. We'll do this as often as you want, mate. I love talking to you, mate. Especially in a calmer environment than the Shark Tank that is our Spurs 5 thing. Thank you very much for the last super chat, guys. Cat Funt says again, mate, thank you very much, Cat. Sean, if you come to Bournemouth, I'll get you a pint. I appreciate that, mate. I'll be in Bournemouth. Oh, actually, I probably won't be. It's 14,000 seats, and it's difficult to get tickets for that one. But I love Bournemouth, mate. And if you come up to Tottenham,
Sean, just interrupt very quickly. For Cat to be that much in the know coming from Bournemouth, I take my hats off to him. Seriously.
100%. ITK from Bournemouth. Is it? It's not Eddie Howe, is it? Ex-Bournemouth guy. Who is it? It's not. Is it Bill Foley? You want to come in and buy a little bit of Tottenham, catty boy? Appreciate you, mate. Thank you very much, Super Chat, mate. Legend. Tot Spurs 6376. Thank you so much, mate. Very generous of you. Don't mention the 90s. I've just got over the nightmares. It was a difficult time, mate. That's when I fell in love with Tottenham in '94. Jurgen Klinsmann season was my first season. So,
hang on, Totspur, Gascoigne at Wembley, Klinsmann at Hillsborough. Come on,
that was before Klinsmann. I was there for Klinsmann. I was the Gascoigne thing. I was a couple of years before me, so I remember it on TV, but I never actually got to experience him live. But
those were brilliant times.
Well, they were brilliant times, but we had Stefan Eversons, we had Justin Edinburghs, we had Stuart Nethercotts, we had Colin Calderwoods, we had Ronnie Rocket, some good players and some absolute shower of shits as well, you know.
Alan Nielsen, last minute winner in 99.
I remember that one. I'll never forget that. That was the best day of my childhood, I think. Thank you very much, Tot Spurs. And he's coming for he's a member for 23 months, man. Wow, thank you so much for the loyalty. It's a long time. Like and sub, everyone. Yeah, guys, I haven't even looked, but there's still 650 of you here. Before you go, please do smash the like. Really appreciate you. And sub. Thank you, Tot Spurs. Cap Fun's in again. Openda. Now, he'd be a great player. I'd love to see him. He's going to go somewhere in the Premier League, I think, this summer. I'd take him. I really would. I think Newcastle could do with him as well, actually. That'd be interesting. I could see Openda at Newcastle. Thank you, Cap Fun. Tall Tart says, choo-choo, Chabugi. Agree with you, Sean, actually, regarding Levy. Appreciate you, mate. There's not many of us. That is a few, actually. There's a few. But certainly overwhelmingly Levy out in the YouTube audience space. Appreciate you for the super chat, mate. Very cool of you. And Sparky Spurs has put in a choo-choo super sticker as well to see us off. Thank you very much, Sparky. It's very cool of you, buddy. I hope that they figure out what this naming problem is with YouTube. I don't know what's going on. On the Spurs 5, it's absolutely fine. And yet on my channel, it's done this weird thing where all I get to see is your actual handles rather than the name that you've chosen. Very strange. Appreciate you so much, guys. Thank you so much. Ian, what's coming up in your world, mate? Can you by the way, guys, get over to X and find Lubo_61. Anything on the Levy out. If you just type in hashtag Levy out, you'll see him liking and retweeting and commenting on every post that's a Levy out related thing.
You probably will. You know, I published. I put the article from the Daily Mail on Twitter today. I had nearly 200 likes in total.
I saw, mate. I saw. You're blowing up, mate. You're blowing up from the Spurs 5, mate. Everyone knows who you are now, you know?
Yeah. Well,
you're the guy that...
Tomorrow night, 5 till 7, ask his questions. I'm on with Sava on his show. And Thursday night, the Spurs 5 again, episode 5.
Comes around quick, doesn't it? Fucking hell.
Does it just...
I'm gonna have to have a good night's sleep. By the way, guys, if you missed the ridiculously aggressive debate last night, I think it's just been put out as a clip. So if you didn't see it and you want to see a 45-minute blazing row that covers off a lot of what we've just covered off, but in a far more aggressive fashion with Sean, Stel, and Lubo, then it's over there on the Spurs 5. Please go over and subscribe. And subscribe here. Follow Lubo on Twitter. You can see his handle there under his face. We'll leave you alone, guys. Oh, by the way, breaking news. I think I forgot to mention it. Vuskovic is going to Hamburg, apparently. So yeah, that interesting. At least he's getting top tier football, you know. But risk on, eh? Risk on. We'll be back tomorrow, guys, with more from whatever's happening. And thanks everybody. I'll see you tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers, Lubo. Cheers, guys. Ciao, ciao.
Awesome.